Hogwarts, who taught you to transform like this? Chapter 1. July, 1991. There was drizzle in the sky above the foggy city, and the air was filled with dense fog. On the 8th floor of Hogwarts, in the principal's office, Minerva McGonagall's eyelids twitched wildly as she assisted in signing the admission letter. She put down her feather pen and looked over the mountain of letters at the silver-haired old man behind the table. Dumbledore, is there something going to happen to this year's freshmen? I suddenly have a bad feeling. Dumbledore pushed his half-moon glasses. Minerva, eyelid twitching is normal. You are not Trelawney, and no one here will die. Don't be so nervous. I think you must be tired from working too much overtime recently. How about some cockroach piles to replenish sugar? Then he pushed a wide-mouthed jar over. Thank you, Dumbledore, forget it. McGonagall pursed her lips and shook her head, rejecting this dessert that looked too weird. In fact, Albus, if possible, I suggest you change to some other desserts, at least they are more appetizing, such as lemon sherbet. Dumbledore took out a handful of candies with beautiful candy wrappers. This kind of candy made by Muggles tastes really good. Oh, right. Speaking of Muggles, Minerva, we have a little wizard from the Muggle world this year who needs your personal guidance. Professor McGonagall was excited and clenched his quill. Professor, you mean Harry? No, Minerva, I have arranged for Hagrid to pick up Harry, and I believe he will do a good job of this, just like he brought Harry back that year. Who else? Merlin Hantel. Dumbledore spoke slowly. McGonagall showed a surprised expression. What's so special about this child? In fact, you just wrote him an admission letter. Dumbledore pointed to the table. His name suddenly appeared in the admission book 2 days ago. Usually, the admission book will sense the little wizard with magical fluctuations in advance and record it and tell me. But it is the first time that a name suddenly appears just before the start of school. And he happens to be from the same orphanage as Tom Riddle back then. Although we should not look at the problem with inherent thinking, it is better to confirm that he is different from Voldemort. Hearing this, McGonagall's expression also became serious, and he understood what Dumbledore meant. Okay, Professor, then I will go over and give him the admission letter in person now. Let me see, where is he now? Hey. Dumbledore's expression was particularly strange. Minerva, you may have to go to the Leaky Cauldron to find this little wizard. McGonagall? Albus, did you see it wrong? How could a little wizard from the Muggle world stay in the Leaky Cauldron? Although I don't believe it, it's written in the admission book. Okay, I'll go over and take a look now. McGonagall grabbed the admission letter he had just written and walked out of the office. The Leaky Cauldron. The boss Tom stood at the counter, wiping the cups while staring at the handsome little wizard in front of him with a secret vigilance. Merlin Hantel, what are you thinking about again? I will never listen to you to transform anything today, and I will never let you drink butterbeer again. Hearing Tom's words, Merlin Handel turned his eyes away from the butterbeer on the bar, with an incredible look on his face. Tom, I'm really hurt. You actually said that the methods I thought of for you were all crooked. Think about it, if I hadn't suggested putting up a notice at the door of the bar that Muggle wizards could enter for consultation, how many wizards would you have missed? But what? And the bar's ordering mode, it's the magic age, you are still recording it verbally, it's really weak. Is the magic mark the first recommended not useful? Then what? Just tell me, has the bar's business become better since I came? It has improved. That's good, you make so much money, what's wrong with treating me to a glass of butterbeer? Tom was silent. 3 days ago, when the little wizard named Merlin Handel came to the bar to find him and said that listening to his advice would make the Leaky Cauldron better, he didn't believe it at all. But after renovating the bar according to his method, the income did increase a lot. But he always felt that he seemed to be tricked. Just as he was about to say something, Merlin interrupted him. In addition, I think you can try selling set meals, combining staple food, vegetables, steak, drinks, and desserts, and then selling them at a discount. Sales will definitely be better. I'll try it tonight. Old Tom's eyes lit up, and he also thought this was a good idea, and hurriedly lowered his head to record it. Merlin calmly took the butterbeer that had just been poured from the bar and checked the system prompt in front of him. Detected that the host has transformed the Leaky Cauldron. Transformation range, small, rewards are being issued. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the item, 1 pound of mithril, an extraordinary metal refined by dwarven craftsmanship, with the characteristics of lightness, hardness, and strong affinity for magic. Why is it mithril? Merlin was a little surprised. He traveled to the world of Harry Potter 3 days ago, and now his identity is a child adopted by the Wu orphanage. And the system that is indispensable for a traveler has also been bound. World Transformation System. As long as you transform the magic world, you can get rewards. The greater the transformation, the better the reward. Considering that he doesn't know magic yet and has no money, the ability to transform the magic world was not enough, so he could only choose the simplest way to start. That was to transform the leaky cauldron. Because he was not familiar with the traffic routes, he changed several buses before he found this bar that connected the wizarding world and the muggle world. It took a while for old Tom to agree to his transformation. He transformed the leaky cauldron and got a lot of benefits 3 times. The first transformation gave him the Encyclopedia of the Magic World, which recorded common magic materials and magical creatures, as well as some local customs. The second transformation gave him the talent of magic affinity. The third time was now, and he gave him a pound of mithril. Although it was a good thing, Merlin was still very curious. There was no such metal in the original book, so why would the system give this reward? Squeak! Before he could think about it, the door of the bar suddenly opened. A female wizard wearing a green cloak, a wizard hat on her head, and a dignified face walked in. She stood in front of the door, her eyes fixed on Merlin. After a long while, she slowly spoke. Mr. Merlin, I'm Minerva McGonagall, the Deputy Headmaster of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, and I'm here to give you your admission letter. But before that, I still have a question, why are you in the leaky cauldron? Chapter 2. Host Transformation Magic World Detected. Renovation Extent, Medium, rewards are being distributed. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the item, Mithril Recipe, a recipe for refining mithril, requiring materials, silver, brass, iron, gold. A hint flashed before his eyes. Merlin was a little surprised. He had only wanted to show Mag the value, but he had not expected that he would complete a mid-level transformation. Was NT this a bit too outrageous? However, since he had given the formula, Merlin no longer used the excuse that he had come up with by chance, and said calmly, I made it by chance when I was helping the blacksmith. The word by chance is a good word. Magic can't guarantee the same product every time. Even if he can't make it later, it's okay. Mag's eyes moved slightly and he sighed. Mr. Merlin, I really envy your luck for being able to refine this metal. If you trust me, don't go to Gringotts. Those goblins will only drive down its price. I will find you a more suitable buyer. The first person McGonagall thought of was Dumbledore. Unfortunately, her patroness had already sent out a message, and now the fastest way is. Suddenly, McGonagall's eyes moved. Seeing the desserts in the Fosco ice cream shop with a huge sign on the street, she immediately had an idea. In the wizarding world, magic photos made with special magic can preserve the memory of the owner of the photo, and can also be used as a transmitter under certain circumstances. As the most famous white wizard of this century, Dumbledore has a lot of cards. As long as he can open one, he can notify the principal in the office. Thinking of this, Professor McGonagall decisively paid for 3 chocolate frogs. Please, Albus, don't let me down. McGonagall opened a chocolate frog. Quack! Amid the crisp croaking of frogs, Merlin noticed a familiar figure walking out of the picture on the cover of the chocolate frog box. It was Dumbledore. McGonagall relaxed her brows and breathed a sigh of relief. In an instant, she looked at Dumbledore on the picture with great seriousness. Dumbledore, I need you to come to Diagon Alley right now. I have something important to tell you. Okay, Minerva. Almost as soon as the voice fell, Merlin felt a shadow on him. Turning around, he saw Dumbledore had appeared beside him. A pair of wise blue eyes looked at him through the half-moon lenses, smiling. Nice to meet you, Mr. Merlin, I'm Albus Dumbledore, and I'm glad you're here at Hogwarts. Hello, Headmaster. I am also very happy to be admitted to Hogwarts. Merlin responded politely. Well, Mr. Merlin, please allow me to delay your orientation for a while. Minerva, Professor McGonagall seems to have something to ask me. Of course, sir. Minerva, I have received your message. What happened now? Dumbledore said as he waved his hand and set up a soundproof barrier. What was even more strange was that no one noticed the three people standing here in the Diagon Alley, but they subconsciously avoided them when they approached. No, Albus, what I'm going to tell you is about Mr. Merlin, don't block him. Oh. Dumbledore looked at Merlin, wondering what important matter could be related to a new wizard who had not yet entered the school. McGonagall briefly explained what had just happened and looked at Merlin again. Merlin, let Professor Dumbledore take a look at that piece of metal. The silver metal reappeared, instantly attracting Dumbledore's attention. He was also a powerful alchemist, and he could tell that the mithril was extraordinary without even using the detection magic. He picked up the mithril, examined it carefully through the lens, and murmured. It's a magical metal. If I am not mistaken, it is different from all the metals currently available. It can be called a perfect metal. After a while, Dumbledore put down the mithril and looked at Merlin. Mr. Merlin, Minerva said you want to exchange this piece of metal for money. It just so happens that my friend is a very good alchemist. If you can sell this metal to him for research, I think he will definitely offer a good price. Dumbledore's alchemist friend is Nicholas Flamel. Merlin thought of this plan when he took out this piece of metal. He got to know Nicholas Flamel from Dumbledore, and then showed his talent in alchemy to get in touch with him. Although this cannot directly enhance his own strength, at least he can have a golden thigh to protect himself when changing the wizarding world. After all, according to the tradition of the wizarding world, his own behavior of transforming the wizarding world is a bit extreme, and it is easy to remind them of someone. As a student of Hogwarts, he may not be able to resist the fanatical conservative wizards. But if he is Nicholas Flamel's favorite student and an outstanding student of Hogwarts, it will be different. Of course, Professor. Mullen smiled and agreed without hesitation. Thank you for your trust, Merlin. Hearing Merlin's agreement, Dumbledore even addressed him more intimately. After a moment, he suddenly remembered something and took out a bag from his pocket and handed it to Merlin. Minerva, I think Merlin doesn't need to apply for a student loan now. Just consider this as my advance payment for my old friend. Merlin took the bag and looked inside. He instantly knew the amount Dumbledore gave him. It was 1,000 gold galleons. Professor, is this too much? No, I believe my friend is willing to pay this price. If you can occasionally make more of this metal, you can also consider selling it to him. Dumbledore said meaningfully. No problem, Professor. Mullen nodded. Okay, Minerva, you guys continue, I have something else to do. Dumbledore's feet moved together gently, and without any movement, the whole person blurred in front of his eyes, without causing any fluctuations, and then disappeared. Two prompts appeared in front of Merlin again. Host transformation magic world detected. Renovation extent, medium, rewards are being distributed. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the talent, Alchemy Master, the host's alchemy level has been greatly improved, and the success rate of alchemy has increased. Merlin's pants. After reading the prompt, Merlin couldn't help but widen his eyes and sighed that this system really understood him too well. Knowing that he needed alchemy, it gave him an alchemy talent. Now there is a reason to refine mithril later. Mr. Merlin, it's time for us to continue. After Dumbledore left, the surrounding restrictions gradually disappeared. Professor McGonagall also took Merlin to start purchasing items needed for the start of school. Textbooks, school uniforms, equipment. The list of items for Hogwarts' start of school was detailed enough, and with McGonagall's leadership, the owners of each store gave the lowest price. Considering Merlin's wishes, he was unwilling to return to the orphanage. These things would be sent directly to Hogwarts by Owl before school started, so until the purchase was completed, Merlin still had nothing in his hands. Except for the bag given by Dumbledore hanging around his waist. And Merlin did not forget to ask McGonagall why such a small pocket could hold so many things. It's the Traceless Extension Charm, an advanced magic that you will learn later. Magic is great. It can even solve space problems that Muggles can't solve. Merlin said sincerely. A smile appeared on McGonagall's face. Although Merlin had expressed similar views along the way, he always liked to compare magic with the Muggle world. But most young wizards from Muggle families who were exposed to magic for the first time were like this. McGonagall didn't think there was anything wrong with it at all, and even thought it was a manifestation of studious and humbleness. If it weren't for the fact that all new students had to go through the sorting hat, she would have wanted to appoint Merlin to Gryffindor. Soon, they bought almost all the equipment. Only the last wand was left. Under the leadership of McGonagall, the two stood at the door of Ollivander's wand shop. Merlin finally became excited. Curious about what kind of wand he would get. Chapter 4. Squeak. The old wooden door of the wand shop was pushed open, and the dust that was raised drifted into the room, making people want to cough. The breeze is blowing. Mag raised her wand, and an invisible wind blew past her, and all the dust disappeared instantly. Mr. Ollivander, it's time to clean your shop, you always do this every time you come. My shop, what should I do? Oh. Professor, is that you? Ollivander appeared behind the counter with the sound of a slide rail. The complaints about the shop's hygiene disappeared, and he put on another look and whispered in defense. These are also the ancient features of the shop. You know, Professor, our shop has wands made by my ancestors thousands of years ago. They have been waiting for their masters. You have been saying this for decades, and I think you will continue to say it. Of course, Professor, our Ollivander wand shop will continue to operate and serve the entire British wizarding community. Ollivander smiled and responded to McGonagall, then turned to look at Merlin. Is this the new student this year? They look so pretty. Ollivander, the most famous wand maker in England. Almost all the wands you see when you arrive at school are made by me. Of course, this is not the point. As I just said, it is the wand that chooses the wizard, not the wizard who chooses the wand. While speaking, Ollivander raised his hand and pulled out several boxes, some new and some old, from the shelf. The wand has been waiting in the box since it was made for a wizard who resonates with it. I believe you will definitely find the one that suits you best. Pick one and try it out. Ollivander was full of expectations. Merlin pulled out a wand at random. Ollivander's eyes lit up. I have to say, you. Sorry, I forgot to ask your name. Merlin Huntle. Mr. Merlin, you really know how to choose a wand. Poplar wood, 11 inches, unicorn hair core, suitable for honest and upright young wizards, especially Gryffindors. Ollivander smiled and glanced at McGonagall. What should I do? Merlin asked. Try waving it and imagine yourself casting a spell. Ollivander raised his wand to demonstrate. When Minerva chose her wand, directly turned the chandelier into a rabbit. Ollivander, do you really have to tell this story every time? Of course, after all, this is the beginning of your transformation as a master of transfiguration, and it is also the glory of our Ollivander family. Ollivander's face was full of pride and complacency. Merlin shrugged and waved his wand as Ollivander said. The tip of the wand exploded into a bunch of golden fireworks, which looked like a lion's mane, and then really formed a majestic lion in the air. Beautiful! Perfect spell! Ollivander shouted excitedly, his eyes full of light. Few young wizards can choose the wand that suits them best the first time. Mr. Merlin, you are a genius. Ollivander said, looking at McGonagall. Professor, did you see that? Mr. Merlin actually used magic to transform the Gryffindor lion, and it was a perfect spell. This was definitely Merlin's arrangement. Of course, I noticed it. Professor McGonagall smiled. There was nothing more pleasing than seeing a Gryffindor lion when a young wizard was testing his wand. If there was, it would be hearing a Gryffindor lion again during the sorting test. Merlin, this seems to be your magic wand. Let's. Wait a minute, Professor. Merlin interrupted McGonagall and pointed to several other boxes. Can I try them all? I don't think this wand is very easy to use. Mr. Ollivander. McGregor looked at Ollivander and gave him a questioning look. It was also the first time she had seen a young wizard make such a request. Of course, Mr. Merlin. I understand your thoughts very well. Every little wizard wants to try more wands, but in the end they still choose the one that matches the best. But you can still try it and feel the feeling of the magic not matching the wand. Ollivander waved his hand and took out several wands from other boxes. 11.5 inches, applewood, rainbow parrot feather core, the wizard it chooses has sufficient biological affinity. 13.3 inches, black walnut, with a core made of witch scale powder, good at performing deception and transformation magic. Following Ollivander's introduction, Merlin picked up another wand and waved it gently. The next second, Ollivander's eyes widened in shock. Oh! Merlin's beard! What's going on? It's another perfect spell. Green magic spurted out from the tip of Merlin's wand, forming several bowtruckles, and he began to maintain the wands that had not yet been chosen in the box. Even Professor McGonagall couldn't help but change her expression. This is natural summoning, an ancient magic. I have never seen a young wizard use this kind of magic when testing his wand. Mr. Ollivander, what about you? No. Never. Ollivander stared at everything in front of him, a little confused. If a perfect spell means that the wand has chosen its master, then what does another perfect spell mean? He has been making wands for so many years and has never encountered a similar situation. After a while, he could only suppress his doubts and handed over another wand. Mr. Merlin, try this one again. Merlin remembered that this was the wand that was good at performing deception and transformation magic. Sure enough. The moment the wand was waved, the wand box and the table on the table turned into a quiet spine-blade stegosaurus lying on the ground, chewing the grass in its mouth while sweeping its tail. Perfect again. Ollivander's mind went blank and he was completely speechless. His family had been making wands for hundreds of years and they had always believed that wands choose wizards. Only wizards who could resonate with wands the most could cooperate with wands and establish relationships. But now it seemed, these wands seemed to be trying their best to show that they also wanted to establish a relationship with Merlin. All the wands he took out were a perfect match for Merlin, which was very abnormal. No. Impossible. It was right for wands to choose wizards, how could they all choose the same person? There must be other reasons. Ollivander looked at McGonagall who was also stunned. Professor, do you know what happened? McGregor clenched her fists, still shocked. She recognized the last magic that Merlin had just unintentionally released. Combined transfiguration. It was a high-level magic that even senior students at Hogwarts could hardly perform successfully in one go. But now, Merlin was using it naturally when testing his wand. Even ordinary wizards could see that he had a very high talent for magic. But at the moment, McGregor still did not forget the most important thing, which was to buy a wand for Merlin. Mr. Ollivander, magic is wonderful. I am sure that this must be related to Merlin's talent. Perhaps he is the most talented little wizard we have met in recent years. Professor, I understand what you mean. Ollivander nodded slightly. Legend has it that when Merlin made the first magic wand, he naturally released extremely powerful ancient magic. Perhaps Mr. Merlin has the same talent. Oh, Merlin's beard, am I going to meet a little wizard who can rival Merlin? Ollivander was shocked. Chapter 5. Ollivander's eyes flashed with an incredible light. Just now he just responded to Mag's words subconsciously, but now he came to his senses and understood what she meant. If Merlin can really become a wizard on par with Merlin in the future, this will be a walking golden sign. After all, even Merlin is using Ollivander's wand, not to mention other wizards. He took a deep breath and waved his hand to summon more wands. Mr. Merlin, please take your time to try. We at Ollivander's wand shop may not have much else, but we definitely have the most wands in the UK. You will definitely be able to find the wand that suits you best. Actually, it's not that troublesome. Merlin was a little embarrassed. He was basically sure that these wands wanted to choose him probably because of his talent for magic affinity. There would be no better match in this test. But Ollivander and McGonagall were looking forward to it, so he had to start the test again. He changed the wands in his hand one by one. More and more magic was released perfectly. As Merlin tested the wand, Ollivander and McGonagall were completely dumbfounded. The magic released from Merlin's hand almost made up a standard spell collection. There were even some magic that only senior students or even aurors could master. For example, the water prison curse, the Vulcan opening the way. The effects of advanced magic filled the room, and the two of them were numb. But when Merlin picked up a wand with an ancient shape, the latest magic sprayed out from the tip of Merlin's wand, and the two couldn't help but change their faces. A touch of golden flame slowly flowed out of Merlin's wand. Almost instantly, a fear from the bottom of their hearts surged in the hearts of the two. It was not any threat or evil fear, but more like the body and the wand instinctively resisted this golden breath. Golden light surrounded all the objects in the house, but there was no burning or tingling sensation. However, all the magic items in the house became ineffective. When it flowed past the two people, they finally understood where the fear came from. The magic released by Merlin turned out to be the end of all curses. As an advanced version of the stop curse. The end of all curses usually requires multiple senior wizards to use it together to activate. When activated, almost all magic within the range will dissipate directly. The fear they felt was the result of the suppression of magic power in their bodies. Normally, only extremely powerful wizards can complete the end of all curses alone. Merlin was just a little wizard testing a magic wand, and he had never even learned magic. How did he do it? Merlin's pants. Professor, where did you find such a genius? Even Merlin didn't have this ability at the beginning, right? Ollivander held his head, and his messy hair became even more swollen. McGonagall's mouth twitched. It took a long time for her to calm down and slowly speak. Mr. Ollivander, I hope you can keep today's events a secret. This is a bit too unbelievable. Of course. Ollivander nodded repeatedly. Even if you didn't tell me, I would have done it. This is incredible. Even if I tell others, no one will believe it. Ollivander said, looking at the wand in Merlin's hand. Strange, it's actually this magic wand, it's really strange. Mr. Ollivander, is there something wrong with this wand? McGonagall asked nervously. No, it's just that I didn't make this wand. Who made that? McGonagall was surprised. The Ollivander family was most proud of their wand-making skills. I have never heard of them selling wands made by others. No, Professor, you misunderstood. What I meant was that this wand was naturally formed. Ollivander then told the story of this wand. When he was young, he travelled outside and accidentally found a tree struck by lightning while looking for wood for the wand. The whole tree was burnt black, but one of the branches had extremely strong magical fluctuations. He wanted to take the branch, but he just touched it lightly, and the charred part on the outside was all shattered into slag, leaving only the part in front of him. There was also a thing inside that he still didn't know what creature left behind, which seemed to be a naturally formed wand core. This wand has been in the store for decades, and no one has ever been able to mobilize its magic. Ollivander looked at Merlin with a complicated expression. Mr. Merlin, it seems I am right after all. The wand is choosing its master. It has waited for decades and finally it has found you. Although I don't know what this magic wand is, it is obviously the best for you. Since I didn't make this wand, I'm giving it to you for free, but I hope you can tell me its story one day. Of course, Mr. Ollivander. Merlin clenched the wand, feeling the intimacy from the wand, his heart was filled with excitement. With the help of the Encyclopedia of the Magic World, he already knew the situation of the wand in his hand. 12 inches, made of 1,000-year-old mahogany struck by lightning, the core of the wand is a dragon whisker. It is not a Western lizard dragon, but an authentic Eastern 5-clawed dragon. The wizard it chooses is bound to be different and will become the most eye-catching existence in the magic world. Merlin was also very surprised. He never thought that his wand would be made of such an incredible material. According to Lansing, lightning-struck wood is a naturally formed divine object that restrains evil spirits. The dragon is also a legendary totem creature of Daxia, and all evil spirits avoid it wherever it goes. The combination of the two. This wand is probably the nemesis of all evil spirits, and it seems normal to have some ability to seal demons. After coming out of Ollivander's wand shop, Merlin has been thinking about other uses for this wand. Thinking of the big villain in the wizarding world. Merlin's mind moved. Voldemort now seems to be in ghost form. If he faces this wand, will he be stabbed to death with one wand? In front of her, McGonagall's eyelids twitched wildly again. She subconsciously turned back to check. When she saw Merlin waving the wand casually, she finally understood where this uneasy feeling came from. McGonagall stopped in her tracks. Mr. Merlin. Professor. Merlin, although you haven't entered school yet, it's too early to say this now, but there are not many talented little wizards like you. I hope you must abide by the rules of the magic world. Of course. Professor McGonagall, what do I need to do? Now, just put away your wand and don't wave it around randomly to avoid causing other accidents. No problem. Anyway, Merlin was just thinking, waving his wand just to get familiar with the feel, and put it back in his pocket when he heard the request. Seeing Merlin put away his wand obediently, McGonagall finally let go of her worries. This is Diagon Alley, the place with the most wizards in the entire British wizarding world. If Merlin accidentally triggers the end of all curses here, it will definitely cause a sensation. Of course, the consequences will be immeasurable. Fortunately, it seems that Merlin has all the qualities of a perfect little wizard in her mind. Smart, polite, obedient, talented, studious. Except that he comes from the Muggle world and doesn't know much about the common sense of the wizarding world, he is almost impeccable. Thinking of this, McGonagall stopped again and went to Flourish and Blots to buy a whole set of books. Mr. Merlin, considering that you are not very familiar with the wizarding world, these books introducing the wizarding world are my gifts to you. I hope you can have a happy time in Hogwarts. Thank you, Professor. I can't wait for school to start. Merlin said this sincerely. After all, no matter how talented a little wizard from the Muggle world is, he can't change much. Only when he enters Hogwarts can he really use the system. But now, there is also a way. Professor McGonagall, are we going back to the orphanage now? Of course. Mag turned around, her dark green robe drew a circle. Or do you want to look somewhere else? No, Professor. Merlin shook his head. In fact, I just want to leave the orphanage and live in the Leaky Cauldron so that I can get to know the wizarding world better, right? Chapter 6. After saying this, Emmeline lowered his head, feeling somewhat disappointed. After all, life in the orphanage is not that happy, and I don't want to go back. McGregor was about to say something else. But after hearing the second half of the sentence, he suddenly remembered something and his face suddenly became gentle. Of course, Merlin, you are right, you are free now, of course you can choose where you live, come on, I will take you to find Tom and let him arrange a room for you. Thank you, Professor. With McGonagall's introduction and arrangement, Merlin quickly moved into the guest room of the Leaky Cauldron. All the things he bought were delivered to the room, and the small room was filled to the brim. Although he could see Diagon Alley from the window, Merlin didn't think about it at the moment. Instead, he immediately opened the information book that McGonagall had bought for him. A study of the development of modern witchcraft, the adventures of Mad Muggle Martin Miggs, magical places of interest, and theory of magic. As the saying goes, knowing yourself and your enemy is the key to success. My golden finger is to change the magic world, so I must have enough knowledge of the current situation of the magic world to change it. When Merlin put down the book, the magic clock in the room showed that it was the next morning. He had finished reading the mountain of books, and the parchment beside him was filled with densely written words. Merlin stood up with a feeling of unsatisfied. After a night of hard study, he finally understood some of the principles of magic, and also thought of ways to transform the magic world. But now, he must go to Flourish and Blott's bookstore first. There are too few books, and some are not enough to read. He decided to get a new batch of books, and transform the magic world by the way. Flourish and Blott's bookstore. As soon as Merlin entered the door, he saw Mrs. Blott standing at the counter greeting customers. Oh, Mr. Merlin, you are here again, do you still want to buy books? Mrs. Blotz greeted Merlin happily. Merlin took out a long list of books and smiled apologetically. I'm sorry, Mrs. Blotz, I'm here to exchange books. The books I bought yesterday are still a bit too profound. I find it a bit difficult for me to understand them. I hope to exchange them for some more popular ones. Of course. Mrs. Blotz took it with a smile. If it were someone else, she would not be so kind. But this was the little wizard brought by Professor McGonagall herself, and she had specially asked her to take care of him, so she naturally had to pay more attention. Of course, to be fair, Merlin's appearance was also an important factor. No matter what time, good looks can make people like him. I will ask Tom to deliver the books by Owl. You can go and pick the books you want first. Thank you, Mrs. Blotz. I'll treat you to an ice cream from Mr. Fusco's when you're not busy. What a lovely child, thank you very much. Mrs. Blotz agreed with a smile and continued to greet other guests. Merlin walked into the bookshelf and casually flipped through the books. About half an hour later, when some customers left the bookstore, Merlin walked out of the bookshelf and spread out his hands. Sorry, Mrs. Blotz, I can't find those books. How could it be? Mrs. Blotz looked at Merlin in surprise. Because I just happened to see the title yesterday, but when I went over just now, I found that the books on the bookshelf had been moved and I couldn't find it. It doesn't matter, Mr. Merlin, can you tell me the key to the title of the book? I am very familiar with the books in the store. As long as you tell me 2 words, I can find the book. Standard spells are flying. Mrs. Blotz waved her wand and proudly caught a book flying over, motioning for Merlin to tell her the title. Merlin pursed his lips and said, Magic. After a while, Mrs. Blotz's mouth twitched. I'm sorry, dear, I really can't help you find a book like this, why don't you? Mrs. Blotz, I have an idea. Mr. Blotz interrupted her and told her the method he had thought of to transform Flourish and Blotz. Mrs. Blotz's eyes gradually changed from indifference at the beginning to surprise, and finally her eyes lit up. Oh, Mr. Merlin, you are such a genius. If there is such a method, I will definitely save a lot of trouble. This method is not difficult, let me think about how to implement it. Mrs. Blotz looked at the bookshelf and pondered. Merlin took the opportunity to go out and buy the ice cream he promised Mrs. Blotz. Probably because school was about to start, many little wizards could be seen shopping with their parents in Diagon Alley. Even in the crowd, Merlin noticed a burly bearded man who was obviously half a body taller than the others. Merlin recognized Hagrid at a glance. And the boy next to him who was thinner than himself was the legendary Harry Potter. But Merlin did not go up to say hello. He should not recognize the two of them now. He continued to queue up for ice cream and looked forward to the results of his transformation. Host transformation magic world detected. Renovation scope, small, rewards are being distributed. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the talent, language proficiency. After encountering an unfamiliar language or text, you can automatically understand the language and be proficient in such text. While waiting in line, a prompt suddenly popped up in front of him. Merlin was delighted, it really worked. It seems that Flourish and Blot's bookstore has been transformed according to his suggestions. And the reward from the bookstore is also very good. Being a wizard is not just about mastering magic and spells, but also requires sufficient knowledge. For example, mastering ancient magic words and runes, learning Elven and Mermaid languages. Before, Merlin was still thinking about spending some time learning these, but he didn't expect the system reward to solve it directly. It's perfect. In order to thank Mrs. Blotz, Merlin even ordered a deluxe ice cream for her. Mr. Merlin, you don't have to spend so much money. In Flourish and Blotz. Mrs. Blott looked at the ice cream covered with syrup, chocolate, and raspberries, laughing very happily. If it weren't for your suggestion, the bookstore would still be in a mess. Come and see your brilliant idea. Mrs. Blotz put down the ice cream and took Merlin to check inside the house. Except for the bestsellers of the season in front of the counter, all other messy piles of books were returned to the bookshelf. There were gold-plated flowery nameplates on the side of the bookshelf to mark the categories of these books. History, magical beasts, life, spell learning, story. And this. Mrs. Blotz spread out a piece of parchment. I made an index according to your method. As long as you remember the name of the book, you can write it down to show the location of the book. Merlin could only nod with his mouth full of ice cream. He was not very interested in these things, but the ice cream in the magic world was really delicious. He was almost finished with his big cup. He didn't know how it was made. After school started, he must find a chance to ask the elves if they could make this. Chapter 7. Squeak. The door of the bookstore opened. Mrs. Blotz. Accompanied by a rough voice and a shadow like a hill covering the ground. The two people I just saw appeared again, and Hagrid squeezed through the door with a loud voice. I brought Harry Potter to buy his school textbooks as instructed by Professor Dumbledore. Harry Potter. It's just like the rumors said. Mrs. Blotz was a little surprised and tilted her head to try to see the scar on his forehead. Harry Potter was no longer surprised. Since entering the wizarding world, too many people have done the same thing. Mrs. Blotz, hello. He greeted in a reserved manner. His eyes swept across the room full of magic books, full of expectation and confusion. Hagrid, there are so many books, how can I find what I need? Let me see. Hagrid twisted his body, then fell into a daze. Sorry, Harry, the place has changed so much that I can't quite remember it. Books used to be piled on the floor. Come, try this. Write the book you want on it and you will find it. Emmeline couldn't help but sigh at the power of fate when he saw the two of them. In just a few minutes, he met the savior twice. But it was just right, let him try this improved book-finding device of Flourish and Blot's bookstore. Thank you, my name is Harry Potter, what's yours? Merlin Handel. Harry smiled and thanked him, and after they exchanged names, he spoke in a low voice. I recognize you, you were buying ice cream just now. But I didn't mean to stare at you, you are just really good looking. Thank you. Emmeline was a little helpless. Everyone who saw him would use his appearance to introduce the topic. Even young Harry is no exception. No wonder there are so many non-tongues with Ying. This is the national situation. Merlin, you must be from a wizard family, right? Harry asked. No, I come from the Muggle world and grew up in an orphanage. Feel sorry. It's okay, there's nothing to apologize for. I don't think it's that bad anyway. It's good to be alone. But no family. Harry wanted to say something, but when he thought about how his life was not much better than that of an orphan, he didn't know how to start. You should find a book first. If you don't find a book, there will be a lot of people later. Emmeline couldn't bear it anymore and pointed at the little wizards rushing outside. You're right, I'll look for it now. Harry hurriedly grabbed the quill and began to write the title. As the title appeared, a long string of words appeared on the parchment. Teaching Materials Area, Spells Teaching Materials, 3rd floor, middle. It's so convenient. Harry followed the instructions and looked for it, his eyes full of shock. He had never seen such a convenient book-finding system in Muggle bookstores. Hagrid scratched his head and lamented that he hadn't been to the bookstore for only a year, why it had changed so much. Other customers also lamented that it was more convenient than before, at least they didn't have to use the summoning charm when they couldn't find a book. Someone had used the summoning charm to pull a book from the bottom of the pile, and the pile collapsed, causing a little wizard to break his bone. Mrs. Blotz smiled sweetly and looked at Merlin. This is all thanks to Mr. Mullen, his idea is really great. What a thoughtful little wizard. Praise Merlin. Mr. Merlin, believe me, you will definitely be a qualified Ravenclaw. The crowd praised Merlin's proposal. Merlin's mouth twitched. He was assigned to the Lion House and the Eagle House before he even entered the school. The Sorting Hat will probably have to struggle for a long time. But he really didn't seem to decide which house he wanted to go to. The Lion House has the bonus of the original book, but the bonus of magical beasts to Badger House is also not small. His idea of changing the world is more suitable for Slytherin. These three are all good, except Ravenclaw. The only impression of Eagle House in Merlin is that the juniors and classmates are pretty, but they can just date, and they don't have to join the house. After thinking for a while without any clue, Merlin simply stopped thinking about it. Anyway, he will know which house he wants to go to when the time comes for sorting. Harry also bought his textbooks at this time. The three left the bookstore together. On the way, Hagrid curiously asked Merlin how he had so much money. Merlin told him the truth about his experience in the past 2 days. Merlin's beard. Hagrid couldn't help but stop and exclaimed. You are so lucky to be able to refine the metal that even Dumbledore is interested in. But the professor definitely didn't ask me to get it from Gringotts. Oh, damn, I shouldn't have said that. Come on, let's go and choose a pet. Hagrid knew he had said something wrong, so he quickly changed his words and took the two of them to the magic pet shop. Hagrid, you just mentioned Gringotts, is it related to today's theft news? Merlin asked deliberately. SHH. Hagrid hurriedly stopped Merlin. Let's not discuss this, okay? Dumbledore forbids me to tell others. Okay. Merlin held his forehead helplessly. As expected, just as the rumors said, you can trust Hagrid's loyalty, but you can't expect him to keep it a secret. Such a casual chat revealed the news of the Philosopher's Stone, no wonder Quirrell was able to. Hiss, that's not right. Merlin suddenly thought of something. With Dumbledore's ability, it is impossible for him not to think that Hagrid had this problem, but he still let Hagrid take charge of this matter and even let him arrange one of the levels. Could it be that Dumbledore knew about Quirrell's abnormality from the beginning, and wanted to use Hagrid's mouth to leak the news to set a trap for Quirrell? He laid out the plan before school started. This is too old a fox. Dumbledore obviously has countless ways to retrieve the Philosopher's Stone, but he has to do it by the way when he picks Harry up to school. This is obviously unreasonable. Only a child like Harry and the rough-minded Hagrid didn't think of it. Thinking about it this way, Dumbledore's calculations are really loud. The more Merlin thought about it, the more he felt that his guess was correct. It seems that I still have to pay attention in the future, so as not to become a part of his plan unknowingly. Magical Animal Shop. As soon as he pushed the door open, Merlin could smell something far more exotic than an ordinary pet shop. Orange snails, turtles with gemstones on their shells, ravens, cattails, and shape-shifting rabbits were all moving around in their respective living areas. Harry stared at them with his eyes wide open, and kept screaming like Billy Wobble. Wow, this owl can dance! And this cat's eyes can actually change color. Mullen, look at these animals, they are so amazing. Indeed, otherwise they are not magical animals. Merlin nodded indifferently in response. To be honest, he had experienced the world of hunters and did not have much interest in these pets in the magic world, and Hogwarts had restrictions. Look at the pets that first-year students can bring listed in the notice. Cats, owls, and toads. Except for owls that can be used to send letters, the other two are too ordinary. If he wants to raise a pet, he must raise a unique pet. He came here with Harry just to test whether language proficiency is useful for these magical animals. But now, there are constant sounds of cooing, quacking, and meowing. Merlin listened carefully to the calls, trying to distinguish their voices. In an instant, a large amount of knowledge appeared in his mind. He held his forehead and realized after a while that this was the language knowledge of these magical animals. Listening to the sound again, it has become different. Today's owl snacks are definitely left over from yesterday, they are so soggy. No, it was today, but he fell into the toad tank when he was adding the treats, I saw it with my own eyes. I really hope they can get a new cat climbing frame, the current one is rotten. There are so many people, the water is hot, I can't sleep, it's so annoying. The tortoise shell is beautiful, I love it, sassy. Okay. So this is the ability to be proficient in languages. My eyes are opened. Merlin looked around and identified the pets that complained about these things, which made him more determined not to buy them. People who are chatterboxes can be separated sometimes. But it's scary to think about the chatterbox pets around you. Merlin tried to stop distinguishing the words of these pets. With a thought, the calls of these magical animals returned to normal. Merlin quickly mastered this function and was able to filter out ordinary chats and only listen to the important information. Harry, on the other hand, was staring at the pets in the store. Here, Harry, this is your present. While the two were watching, Hagrid had already come over with an owl and handed it to Harry. He looked at Merlin with a bit of embarrassment. Sorry, Merlin, I didn't know what you liked, so I didn't buy it. Merlin naturally would not expose his words. He smiled and waved his hand. It's okay. I don't like these magical animals. They are too small. I like big, mighty, and majestic ones. Yes, yes, yes. Hagrid nodded vigorously, and then asked Merlin what magical creatures he liked. Merlin was still thinking about what to say when Hagrid slapped his forehead. Sorry, Merlin, I forgot that you are also a little wizard from the Muggle world, and you may not know what large magical animals are. Zulu, Kylan, Phoenix, or red-eyed eagle lizard if that doesn't work. Before Hagrid finished speaking, Merlin said several names. The next second, Hagrid's eyes were as bright as copper bells. Oh! Merlin's beard, how do you know these names? I just bought fantastic beasts and where to find them yesterday. It's incredible that you actually like these animals. Even little wizards from wizarding families may not be able to accept these magical animals. Hagrid laughed, his beard and hair shaking. When school starts, I will show you this animal. Okay. Merlin replied. He knew that Hagrid would be able to get a dragon egg soon. It would depend on whether he could find a way to keep it. Merlin originally wanted to buy an owl to deliver mail, but when he thought about his next step of transforming the wizarding world, he felt that it was unnecessary. With the new invention, the history of the wizarding world still using owls to deliver mail should come to an end. Chapter 8. Soon, the three of them reappeared on the streets of Diagon Alley. The crowded crowd in the nearby shops immediately attracted the three people's attention. Quidditch Boutique. The latest Nimbus 2000 was displayed in the window, attracting the attention of countless wizards. The latest flying broom is so beautiful. If I had one, I would definitely be the fastest person on the Quidditch field. Comets are just garbage in front of it. Except for the price, this is simply the perfect flying broom. Harry's eyes fell on the window through the crowded crowd. What's this? Broomsticks, you will also have courses on them when you go to school. Hagrid said. You can fly by riding it, how cool. What about Quidditch? It's like a football match in the wizarding world. Harry kept asking about these names he had never heard of, his eyes full of envy. Merlin could understand his envy. But looking at those wizards who longed for flying brooms, Merlin felt that he had a long way to go to transform the wizarding world. After all, there are only 3 people in the entire wizarding world who can fly without a flying broom. The first generation Dark Lord, the second generation Dark Lord, and Snape. Dumbledore might be able to do it, but he seems to have never used it. In other high-level martial arts worlds, they have already been able to achieve self-flight. Thinking of this, Merlin stopped shopping with Harry. It was just to get to know the Savior. Now that he knows him, he should get busy with his own business. Transforming the wizarding world is the real thing. Saying goodbye to Harry, Merlin went to several stores where he bought things yesterday to take out some instruments and medicines, and returned to the room in the leaky cauldron to start his research. Tom was even more moved. As expected of a little wizard personally guided by Professor McGonagall, he started self-study before school started. He is really studious. In the principal's office of Hogwarts, McGonagall was discussing Merlin's affairs with Dumbledore. Professor, Mrs. Blotz just told me what Merlin did over there. Could it be that our little wizard who can cast all curses has caused trouble? Dumbledore ate the dessert on the table slowly, waiting for McGonagall to continue. No, he just asked Mrs. Blotz to change the layout of the bookstore, which was well received by customers. He also asked Mrs. Blotz to use the finding spell to make a piece of parchment. After McGonagall roughly explained what Merlin had done, Dumbledore still did not move. Professor? Don't you think this is a little too coincidental? McGonagall clenched her hands and looked serious. Dumbledore shook his head. Minerva, how come you are more cautious than an old man like me? Are you still not reassured after meeting Mr. Merlin in person? No, Mr. Merlin is indeed excellent, but his performance reminds me of someone. Indeed. Dumbledore murmured as he looked at the photo wall. Tom was such a student back then, excellent, studious, enthusiastic, optimistic and creative, but in the end he still went down the wrong path. So, Principal, you really trust him? Yes, Minerva. Dumbledore nodded, interrupting her unspoken words. I have met Mr. Merlin, and I believe that he is a little wizard who knows his limits and what he wants. Tap. Given enough time and guidance, he will surprise us all. Knock. As Dumbledore spoke, an owl landed outside the window and pecked at the window glass. McGonagall hurriedly opened the window to take out the letter. After a quick glance, her expression became rich, even a little confused. What's wrong, Minerva? It was the first time Dumbledore had seen McGonagall look like this. McGonagall tried to speak calmly. Professor, if someone told you that a little wizard from a Muggle family used textbooks to teach himself black magic and evil alchemy the day after he came into contact with magic, would you be surprised? Of course. Wait. Are you saying that Mr. Merlin has already started alchemy? Yes, Professor, it's in the leaky cauldron, you can take a look. McGonagall nodded slightly and handed over Tom's letter. Dear Professor McGonagall, I have no intention of infringing on Mr. Merlin's privacy, but I think this matter should be told to you. When he came back at noon, he brought a bag of wheat flour, some spices, the meat and blood of a magical animal whose species I couldn't see clearly, and some magical plants. Then there was a thumping sound in the room, and if you got closer you could hear the gurgling sound of boiling water and screams. I think this must be some kind of black magic or evil alchemy. That's all, yours faithfully, Tom. Dumbledore put down the letter with a complicated look on his face. Minerva, I think we need to go see what Mr. Merlin is doing. The leaky cauldron. Merlin had no idea what was happening in Hogwarts, thousands of miles away. He was watching the things rolling up and down in the cauldron with satisfaction. In this era, the leaky cauldron, no, it should be the entire Diagon Alley, never mind, let's expand it to the entire British wizarding world. It's hard to comment on the food wizards eat. All kinds of roasted meats, potatoes cooked in various ways, cakes that are so sweet that they're choking, weird drinks. Merlin missed the food of the Kingdom of Oddities after eating for a day. So he had an idea on the way back. Anyway, Diagon Alley has all the ingredients, and the leaky cauldron does not prohibit guests from cooking in the room, so he might as well buy some things and go back to cook. So he went to the potion shop to buy some fresh meat and potion plants, and by the way found the spices that he remembered could be used as seasonings. After more than an hour of tossing and turning, he can finally have a full meal. Merlin smiled happily. Knock, knock, knock. At this time, there was a knock on the door outside. Merlin, it's me, Dumbledore, are you in the room? Dumbledore's voice sounded. Merlin was a little confused, but still opened the door. Professor, why are you here? I came here to do something, and Tom happened to say that you seemed to be doing some alchemical experiments in your room? I wonder if I can take a look. Experiment? I didn't do that. Merlin shook his head, bewildered. Tom walked out from behind the crowd. Mr. Merlin, please don't hide it from us. Look at what you just brought. Fresh meat, coagulated blood, broken internal organs, mysterious plants, now all in the crucible, this pungent smell, it's not black, what is alchemy? Dumbledore and McGonagall were still beside. Tom swallowed his saliva, and finally did not say that this was black magic. Merlin suddenly realized. No wonder the three people in front of him looked so nervous and fearful. It turned out that they had misunderstood. However, according to Tom's statement, what he did seemed to be really like the style of a dark wizard. Unfortunately, he really didn't do alchemy. I'm just cooking. Emmeline looked at the three of them and politely invited. Professor, Tom, would you like some dumplings? Chapter 9. Emmeline took the lead and ate a bite. The other three ate the dumplings half believingly and half doubtingly. Soon, the eyes of the three people lit up. Mr. Merlin, this is real food. Merlin's beard. I really can't imagine that flour can be made into such delicious biscuits besides pasta, cookies, and bread. I will add this dish to my bar. It seems that in addition to lemon snowballs, I have another favorite Muggle food. Merlin handed over the vinegar and chili dipping sauce and cut a small dish of garlic slices. Professor, try this, it tastes better when paired with. The person who taught me how to make this dish said that if you don't add garlic to dumplings, the flavor will be half as good. Let me try. Dumbledore picked up another dumpling according to Merlin's method. His blue eyes were full of surprise. Mr. Merlin, this is incredible. I had no idea there was such delicious food before. Well, I can't even wait to serve this food at Hogwarts. I wonder if you can give me a detailed recipe. Of course. Merlin took out his quill and quickly wrote down the recipe. Dumbledore's expression became visibly excited after reading the recipe. 1 pound of lean and fat ream beef, cleaned and chopped. 1 ounce of ginger root, 3 devil peppers, and 1 head of buttered garlic, fried in boiling oil for 3 minutes. Half a head of kale, chopped and boiled in a cauldron for 30 seconds. Oh, Merlin's beard. Dumbledore was shocked for a moment when he read out the formula. Mr. Merlin, are you sure this is really a recipe and not a potion? Your operations are almost as good as Polyjuice potion. Merlin smiled and showed his teeth. Professor, I've read the potions textbook. Polyjuice potion takes at least a month to make, but dumplings don't. You are right, Mr. Merlin, but I think that as long as the materials are similar, they will be fine, right? Otherwise, the school directors may not allow me to stay in the school. Of course. Emmeline nodded. Very good, then I can confirm in advance that dumplings will become a regular dish at Hogwarts in the future. Thank you, Mr. Merlin. As soon as the voice fell, a prompt popped up in front of Merlin's eyes. Host transformation magic world detected. Modification scope, very small, rewards are being distributed. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the talent, cooking mastery, the dishes you make will gain additional abilities. Is this possible? Merlin wanted to recommend a few more recipes to Dumbledore. Just imagine how shocking it would be if the Hogwarts table was filled with a full banquet. Dumbledore, who was eating dumplings, had a twitch in his eyelids, and had a vague feeling that something was wrong. Before he could think about it, his expression suddenly changed. He stood up and drew a circle in the air with his wand, in which the Hogwarts castle was vaguely visible. Mr. Merlin, thank you for your hospitality, but something happened suddenly and I have to go back to school. See you when school starts. Goodbye, Professor. Merlin thought to himself that it was a pity and he could only introduce the dishes to him next time. Dumbledore and the other person stepped through the aperture and disappeared from the house. Tom also apologized and generously waived Merlin's room fee for the entire holiday. In this regard, Merlin only wanted to say that Tom was a good man and saved him money. Although he is now a small rich man and does not need this month's room fee. But spending less is earning, and earning is happiness. And wait until everyone leaves. Merlin made himself another pot of dumplings, intending to see what the effect of this extra ability talent is. Merlin's pants. After eating a few dumplings, Merlin couldn't help but exclaimed. He clearly felt that his magic power had increased. If measured by numerical values. Before eating, his magic power was about 10 units, and now it has increased to 14 units. Is this the effect of the cooking proficiency extra ability? So cool. Eating can increase magic power, this must be a little bit more? In order to confirm the effect, Merlin resisted the feeling of fullness and fried himself another steak. After the steak was all in his stomach, he felt the magic power increase again. It really works. Merlin was secretly excited. Whether it is alchemy or making potions, magic power is needed as support. He has too little magic power now, and he originally wanted to find a way to quickly increase his magic power. Now eating can increase magic power, what else is there to say? Deep Blue, give me some. But Merlin is a little good. I wonder if this effect is useful to other people. If it is only useful to myself, then it is a good talent. If it can be useful to other people, then it would be a miracle. After all, except for the bloodlines of the 28 families that may affect the strength of magic power, ordinary wizards can only increase their magic power with age and practice. Once you eat the food you cook, you can increase your magic power. That means a huge amount of wealth and a lot of rewards for drastically transforming the wizarding world. At that time, wizards will definitely cry and beg me to cook for them. Completely change the status of food in the wizarding world. Just thinking about it makes me look forward to such a day coming soon. At this moment, Hogwarts. Dumbledore had just stepped into the principal's office with McGonagall when a ball of fire rushed towards them and threw itself into Dumbledore's arms with a cry. It was Fawkes, the phoenix of Dumbledore's family. What's going on? Dumbledore felt Fawkes' call, so he urgently used this directional teleportation magic to break through the restriction of Hogwarts that did not allow apparition and returned. The phoenix pecked off a feather. Flame words burned in the air. Dumbledore frowned slightly. This was an important communication method agreed upon by him and Nicholas Flamel. Use a spell to seal the information in the phoenix feather, and then use the spell to restore it. You can get absolutely confidential information that will not be tracked or recorded. And now Nicholas Flamel sent this content. At a glance, Dumbledore, who has been calm for so many years, still couldn't help but change his face. Professor, what happened? McGonagall asked anxiously. Minerva, read for yourself. Dumbledore waved his hand and the flames turned into a letter and fell on the table. Nicholas Flamel's handwriting was visible to the naked eye with joy and eagerness. Albus, I have fully verified the metal you sent me. I can confirm that it is an alchemical product that can subvert the wizarding world. Magical. Incredible. Unimaginable. Genius. Nicholas Flamel did not hesitate to praise it, and he wanted to use all the adjectives he knew. In a sense, I think it is a greater invention than the Philosopher's Stone. How is it possible? McGregor couldn't help but exclaimed when he saw this. Professor, is he really not exaggerating? Could that piece of metal be more precious than the Philosopher's Stone? Of course not. Dumbledore laughed. My old friend is just too excited. In fact, the refining process of this metal is no more troublesome than the Philosopher's Stone. What is important is the meaning behind it. Dumbledore paused for a moment. Minerva, I have a feeling that the wizarding world will soon be transformed by this metal. Chapter 10. McGonagall pursed her lips, not knowing whether she should believe Dumbledore's prediction. Although she could see the extraordinary nature of this piece of metal, even in the era of you-know-who, the wizarding world had not changed for a long time. No, Minerva, not this nominal change, I mean, the civilization of wizards. Dumbledore looked out the window. From the ancient times, from the first sprouts of life underwater, to the giant beasts of the Stone Age, to the first upright walking of humans, to the birth of magic. Our magic has been a process of progress, from complicated rituals and magic patterns to simplified spells. But since the days of Merlin, we've been accustomed to wands, magic, potions, alchemy. It has been a long time since anyone has explored the principles and new breakthroughs behind these things. The wizarding world is now stagnant, and this piece of metal may be the turning point to change everything. Well, Professor, maybe you are right. But, such an important matter should be discussed in the Wizengamot, not in school, right? You know, I still have a few young wizards from the Muggle world who need to be guided. Oh. Of course, Minerva. Dumbledore knew that McGonagall didn't want to continue the topic of letting the little wizards change the world, so he sent her away and continued to look out the window. He kept thinking of the scene he had just seen. When they entered the room, Merlin took out a few dumplings from the cauldron and asked in surprise. Professor, would you like some dumplings? Dumplings? They are really delicious. Dumbledore's mouth curled up with a happy smile unconsciously. Then he snapped his fingers and summoned the house elves in the kitchen, and arranged for them to learn this recipe. Since he promised Merlin, he must do it as the headmaster. At this year's freshman opening dinner, he will eat dumplings. Time flows slowly. It has been a month since Merlin moved into the leaky cauldron. During this time, Merlin's life was extremely regular. In the morning, he went to the shops in Diagon Alley to buy materials to study potions and alchemy. In the afternoon, he went to Flourish and Blots to read books, and while working part-time as a shopkeeper, he learned all kinds of magic that could be mastered publicly. In the evening, he sat in the Leaky Cauldron to listen to the adult wizards chatting, and got some information for free. After a month, although his magic power and understanding of the magic world were increasing day by day, there was a very realistic problem in front of Merlin. He was running out of money. 1,000 galleons seemed like a lot, but it was actually not a small amount. It was roughly equivalent to the annual income of an auror of the Ministry of Magic or a professor at Hogwarts. If it weren't for buying big items such as flying brooms and advanced alchemical products, many young wizards at Hogwarts would not be able to spend so much money until graduation. Merlin was able to spend it all in a month, all thanks to his talent for cooking. In order to better study the connection between the food he made and the growth of magic power, Merlin spent a lot of money to have fresh magical animals' flesh, blood, bones and other ingredients delivered every day. Because some of them are materials needed for alchemy and potions, they are very expensive. Dragon blood costs 12 galleons per bottle. Processed needle-pricked pufferfish meat costs 15 galleons per pound. Colorful ballfish meat costs 37 galleons per pound. Even the ream beef that Merlin uses most often costs 8 galleons per pound. Add to that the scattered honey, jumping mushrooms, peppermint, ginger root, mistletoe berries and other seasonings that cost 2 or 3 galleons each and other ingredients. 1,000 galleons to spend in a month is already considered economical. Of course, the result of such crazy spending is that Merlin's magic power has increased to about 80 units. He has basically mastered all the magic spells that need to be mastered before the 3rd grade. He has also successfully produced a real exploration alchemy work. Magic detection glasses. When the wearer puts on the glasses, he only needs to use a little magic to detect the strength of the magical creatures and wizards that appear in his field of vision. If the opponent's magic power is much lower than his own, it will be displayed in green. If the gap is not big, it will be displayed in yellow. If it is far higher than his own, it will be displayed in red. In fact, Merlin originally wanted to make it like the combat power detection glasses in Dragon Ball, which accurately display the amount of magic power. Not only does it have a cool style, but it can also be called a scumbag with a magic value of only 5. But considering that it is a bit too much to take out such a fierce thing for the first time. In order to keep a low profile, Merlin simply omitted the accuracy and only gave a rough judgment of the strength. In this way, even if others ask, they can say that they perceive through magic and spells, and there will be no problem at all. This is also part of Merlin's plan to show his alchemical talent. After all, everyone likes a talented and hard-working little wizard in the Muggle world, not a little wizard who wants to subvert the magic world before entering school. He plans to let everyone get familiar with his identity as an alchemist before taking out new alchemical items. More importantly, school is about to start. He believes that the little wizards at Hogwarts will be interested in this thing. At that time, even if only 1/3 of the students buy it, it will greatly ease his financial pressure. Now he is really poor. There are only 13 gold galleons left on his body. He can't even afford a big piece of dragon meat. The speed of magic power improvement has slowed down a lot. Merlin had thought about getting some money from other channels before. For example, ruins exploration. The drunk wizards in the Leaky Cauldron would reveal some clues about ancient ruins and the treasures of great magicians from time to time. But Merlin has been to 2 of the ancient magic ruins, 3 suspected addresses of Merlin's tomb, 4 famous wizard inheritance sites, and a legendary alchemy master's laboratory. Without exception, they are all fake. In this regard, Merlin only wants to say, wouldn't these wizards feel guilty for using this information to deceive a young wizard who has just entered the magic world? Of course, he didn't think about it at all when he thought so. Which little wizard in the Muggle world would eavesdrop on others' conversations in the Leaky Cauldron and really go to explore such unknown ruins? Fortunately, when Merlin only had 3 gold galleons left on him, September 1st arrived. Hogwarts is back to school. Chapter 11. King's Cross Station. Merlin took a taxi here early in the morning and found the platform 9 3/4 in his memory. He saw the wizards nearby. The main reason was that these wizards did not hide their magic, and he was wearing magic detection glasses. In his sight, all the Muggles were white, while most wizards were green and dark yellow, and only a few were red. It was easy to judge their identities by their clothes and what they were doing. The Aurors and Hogwarts guides were standing around in decent Muggle clothes. They were responsible for casting a confusion charm on Muggles who found something unusual, or teaching the little wizards in the Muggle world to enter the platform. Wearing cloaks, formal suits or leather shoes with hip-hop shirts, with children and strollers full of packed luggage. They were basically wizard families who came to send their children to school. Several children pulling suitcases, emitting green light, and even wearing school uniforms could be seen at a glance as little wizards from the Muggle world. After verifying the function of the glasses again, Merlin passed through the brick wall and entered the 9 3/4 station to Hogwarts. A steam-breathing train appeared before his eyes, and a bustling crowd was bidding farewell to the train. The air was filled with the breath of magic. Merlin took a deep breath, and his eyes seemed to penetrate space and fell on the distant Hogwarts castle. "Hogwarts, here I come," Merlin whispered, and then got on the train to look for a compartment. However, he did not look for an empty compartment, but specifically found the most crowded compartment and randomly knocked on a compartment that was almost full. "Hello, I'm Merlin Hantel, a freshman this year." "Oh, Harry, you are here too." Merlin was halfway through greeting people when he saw the people in the box and couldn't help laughing. Harry, Ron, and Hermione actually met in advance. The other two were the Weasley twins, the naughty kings of Hogwarts, the best at deducting points from Gryffindor, and the eternal twins in the wizarding world, Fred and George. It was such a blessing to be in the same compartment with these people. Almost instantly, Merlin figured out how to shock them with his inventions and sell goods at the same time. "Merlin! What a coincidence, come and sit here." Harry warmly invited Merlin to sit down, and then introduced Merlin to the others. At first, they just thought he was a new wizard whom Harry met by chance, and they were just generally enthusiastic. But when they heard that he actually exchanged a piece of metal for Dumbledore's 1,000 galleons, the whole box became boiling. "Merlin, you are so lucky, I am so envious." Merlin's beard. 1,000 galleons. That's enough to buy the entire Zonko's joke shop, my dung bombs, burp candy, and frog spawn soap. Heartbroken. If I had this money, I could buy a lot of books. Books in the wizarding world are so expensive. Several little wizards in the room wailed at the same time. The only one who remained calm was Harry. First, he had a huge inheritance, so he really didn't envy the 1,000 galleons. Second, he had been shocked once, and this time he said it out loud just to see other people's expressions of shock. But soon, after learning that Merlin lived in the leaky cauldron before school started, Harry's calm expression twitched with envy. Although his living conditions had improved after he received the admission letter. But he had seen the good of the wizarding world, and he didn't want to stay in Privet Drive even more. But Hagrid wouldn't let him leave, so he could only stay in the cupboard for a whole month with expectation. By the way, to comfort him, there are other young Muggle wizards who might be worse off than him. But now that he knows about Merlin's life, his mood is very complicated. Hermione did not have the same experience as Harry. She simply envied Merlin for being able to go to Flourish and Blotts to read books at any time. Due to the restrictions on the exchange of Muggle currency for galleons, she bought very few books. She has already finished reading all the textbooks she bought during this holiday, and has always wanted to learn more about the wizarding world, but she has no chance. If she hadn't had no money in her pocket, she would have wanted to ask Merlin how much it would cost to live in the leaky cauldron for a month. The twins' idea was very simple. If they could live in Diagon Alley for a month, they could go to Zonko's joke shop every day. In fact, you don't have to envy me. Emmeline saw that the timing was right and said calmly to the Versailles track. Why? Because the money has been spent. Merlin turned over his wallet and took out the last 2 galleons and some sickanats. All the little wizards in the room were shocked. However, the 2 little wizards from the Muggle world didn't feel much about the expense. They just felt that Merlin had spent a huge sum of money. The 3 Weasley family members were so excited that they jumped up. "No, Merlin, how did you do it? Can you really spend a galleon in the leaky cauldron in a day?" They knew the purchasing power of 1,000 galleons, and they couldn't even imagine how Merlin spent the money. Merlin then took off his glasses. "In fact, I taught myself alchemy and created an alchemical work." The room fell into a strange silence. They all wondered if they had misheard something. But seeing Emmeline's serious look, they couldn't help but ask him again what he meant by what he had just said. "It's the magic detection glasses." Emmeline didn't explain any more and simply took off the glasses and let them wear them to test themselves. "Just let your magic attach to the glasses. Let me try." George took the glasses first. This was also the result that Merlin hoped for. At least as senior students, they could often break school rules without being caught. Their magic control ability should be good enough. Goose Girl! It's amazing! George shouted in shock within 2 seconds after putting on the glasses. Although it was his first time to use magic to explore the glasses, he quickly figured out what the colors meant. He shook his head left and right, carefully inspecting the people back and forth. Merlin's beard is amazing. Merlin, you are a genius. This is the best alchemical product I have ever seen. George exclaimed. Is it really an alchemical product? Don't lie to me, let me try it. Fred knew that George liked to joke, but what he said at this moment was obviously true. He was also a little impatient to try the effect of these glasses. Here you are. George looked at them again, reluctantly took off his glasses and gave them to Fred. Soon, Fred's exclamation was heard again in the carriage. Oh! Merlin's beard, what you said was true. I really saw the difference in their magic. Fred opened his eyes wide. He took off his glasses and put them on again. He confirmed that this was not an illusion, but that he really saw the colors of the people in the box. After repeating this several times, Fred swallowed his saliva and nervously asked if he could go outside to try the effect of these glasses. Of course. Merlin nodded affirmatively. He was more and more satisfied with the twin tools. They knew to take the initiative to promote it. That was great. If his hunch was right, his first official alchemical product would probably attract all the little wizards on this train very soon. However, he still had one thing to make clear to them. Chapter 12. What? You're selling something so incredible. You. Oh, Merlin's beard, I forgot this is your alchemical work. The twins wailed. Alchemy, making interesting props, selling them, making money. This is the life they dreamed of. But they have been trying for 3 years without success. Now a new student. No, it can't even be considered as a student, after all, he hasn't even been sorted. That is, a young wizard from the Muggle world who has been exposed to magic for less than a month has achieved their goal. The two hugged each other and fell into even greater despair. Merlin, we hate you so much. With a talent like yours, when will we Weasley brothers be able to make it? Merlin watched the two perform quietly. He knew the twins' style of doing things, and there wouldn't be any waves. The others were a little at a loss. Harry even poked Ron's arm. Ron, is it okay for your brothers to be like this? It's okay, they are just like that, just get used to it. Ron calmly ate the snacks on the table. After the two of them let go of each other and returned to normal, Emmeline continued his next plan. Actually, I still need your help. After all, I was new here, I didn't know many people, and I didn't know what price I should sell at. So what? The twins' hearts raced. They had thought of something. I need you to help me sell these alchemical products. In return, you can get 20% of the profits as dividends. If you can join the production in the future, this ratio can be increased. Emmeline said with a smile. 20%? Is there a follow-up? Make a deal. Emmeline, you are such a good person. The twins looked at each other and agreed without hesitation. In their understanding, the things were made by Emmeline, and they were just helping to sell them. It was already good that they didn't get a share by piece, and they didn't expect to get even better profits. And Emmeline didn't say much. There were too many people now, and it was not convenient to show his huge business plan for the future. In addition, wait until they can complete this thing. Although he likes the twins' personalities, he also needs to examine their abilities. Wait, Merlin. We will definitely make you a lot of money. By the way, how much do you plan to sell this thing for? 5 galleons. Emmeline thought for a moment and quoted a price. Oh! Merlin's beard. So expensive. Not only the twins, but also the other little wizards in the box were all staring with wide eyes. Subscribing to the Daily Prophet for a full year only costs 2 to 3 galleons. A little wizard from a poor family only spends about 6 galleons a year. The magic detection glasses in front of them cost 5 galleons, which was far beyond their budget. Even Hermione, who was eager to buy a pair for research, started to worry. Only the rich Harry paid for it without changing his expression. No, Merlin, you can't set the price like that. The twins shook their heads hastily. Most young wizards like you can't afford this thing. Yes, this is almost the zero of our year. Well, Anyway, this price is really too expensive, Emolin. I didn't say this thing would cost 5 galleons. Emolin spread his hands. So what do you mean by 5 galleons? Pricing strategy. Molin smiled brightly. If an item is priced at 3 galleons and is sold to you for 3 galleons, what would you think? Really expensive. What if it's priced at 5 galleons, but you only sell it for 3 galleons, and it's only available for 3 days? Make a ton of money. We get it. Emolin, you are indeed a genius. The twins said in unison, with surprise on their faces. Just wait here. In less than 3 days. In just 3 hours, I can make this thing sell like hotcakes in Hogwarts. The twins walked out of the box confidently with a dozen pairs of glasses given by Merlin. A moment later, an exaggerated shout rang out in the car. Hey, come and have a look at this good stuff. After all, the twins are third graders and know many students at Hogwarts. In addition, they are usually quirky and popular in school. As soon as they got out of the car, they attracted the attention of many young wizards. In order to attract more attention, the two even used a loud spell to promote the magic detection glasses. Are you still worried about the vixens on the roadside? Are you still on guard against the boggart in the closet? Are you still worried about the strength of the opposing wizard? Now, as long as you buy this pair of magic detection glasses, no trace of magic can escape your eyes. Emolin heard a few words of the advertisement through the car door, and he just wanted to say that the twins were born salesmen. Just a few simple words aroused everyone's curiosity. If it wasn't something he made, he would have wanted to buy a pair to try. However, since he chose the twins, Emolin no longer paid attention to sales. His products plus their performance would definitely not be bad. He was more concerned about the trio in the room. Especially the girl in front of him with fluffy hair and flowing bangs, who was sweet and revealed confidence and unwillingness to accept defeat. Molin, do you still have the glasses I just bought? If they cost 3 galleons, I want to buy a pair. But I don't have the money yet. I can only give it to you when Gringotts can exchange it next month. Hermione looked at him eagerly. Merlin read a lot of things from her eyes. Determination, desire, curiosity, and admiration. It must be his actions that aroused Hermione's competitive spirit. After all, as a top student who has prepared all the first-year courses, Hermione has always believed that her hard work and efforts will make her a hit after the start of Hogwarts. But unexpectedly, they are all little wizards in the Muggle world. She just ran a little faster, and others were already flying. However, he suddenly thought of something. Although he has mastered the golden finger to transform the magic world, he can't do it alone. Moreover, advanced alchemy also requires a long time to study and produce. He can't spend so much time watching it in person, so he can invite Hermione to be his assistant. Smart, studious, determined, and enthusiastic. The only thing he criticized is arrogance, which doesn't seem to be shown at the moment. Thinking of this, Merlin nodded decisively. Of course, for the sake of friendship, I can give you the glasses first. Merlin took out a pair of brand new glasses from his pocket and handed them to Hermione. Thank you so much, Molin. I promise, I'll pay you back as soon as I get paid next month. Besides, I have something else to ask. Hermione mustered up the courage to look at Merlin. If you want to make glasses like this, can I learn from you? Don't worry, I won't tell anyone, I'm just curious. Hermione said, biting her lip nervously. She knew that this statement was very offensive and an infringement of other people's patents. But she was really curious about how Merlin could complete his alchemy work before school started. Merlin was also stunned for a moment. He was just thinking about how to trick this little wizard into working for him. He didn't expect the other party to take the initiative to bring it up. Now, he can be a good person again, which is really good. Of course, if you are willing, you can be my lab assistant. I will pay you 10 galleons a month. How about that? Emolin said. I don't want it. No problem. Hermione originally didn't plan to ask for a reward. But after hearing 10 galleons, she immediately chose a more sincere answer. With this money, she can buy more things to improve her grades. Moreover, dealing with a little wizard from the same Muggle world is obviously less stressful. Very good, I hope we can have a pleasant cooperation. Merlin reached out, held Hermione's hand, pulled her to his side, and asked Harry if they wanted to join. Chapter 13. Hearing the monthly salary of 10 galleons, Ron was a little tempted. But thinking that he would not only have to attend classes but also do hard labor in the future, he shook his head slightly. I don't think I'm strong enough right now, so forget it. Harry shook his head. Me too, I'll study the school courses first. Of course. Merlin suppressed his laughter and nodded. He was really curious. When Hermione was helping him, whose homework would these two guys copy? At this time, the door of the box opened. The twins poked their heads in excitedly, grinning from ear to ear and unable to stop. When they saw Merlin, they immediately hugged him and cried out in joy. Merlin, you are so awesome! As soon as they took out the glasses and told the price, they went crazy buying them. Guess how many pairs we sold? 1,000. Yes. No. That's not right. To be exact, there are more than 1,200 pairs. However, only 347 pairs have been paid for now, and the rest are still verbal agreements, and they will not pay us until next month. We agreed to deliver the goods a week after school starts, is that okay? Of course. Merlin nodded. The processing of magic detection glasses is not complicated. The only thing that restricts production efficiency is the raw materials. The twins put down their cloaks excitedly. Only then did they notice that they did not bring bags with them. They had been using their cloaks to carry money. The cloaks fell heavily on the table. The table was immediately covered with galleons, gnat, and sea care, forming a small mountain, and even sliding down. Stretching spell. Merlin waved his hand. The tabletop immediately stretched and widened, becoming a larger tabletop, blocking all the coins. What a powerful spell! The little witch's eyes lit up, and she was filled with envy. She had also tried this magic when she was practicing magic at home, but it was not as smooth as Merlin's. As a little wizard in the Muggle world, if Merlin could do it, she could definitely do it. Seeing this effect, Hermione became more determined to learn magic from Merlin. And Ron was still counting on his fingers how much money there was on the table. Merlin waved his hand again, automatically classified it, and got the exact amount. 693 gold galleons, 4,335 sickles, 45,849 nuts. Equivalent to 1,041 galleons. After complaining about the outrageous conversion rate of 1 hour 17 minutes and 29 seconds in the magic world, Merlin deducted the production cost of these glasses, 694 galleons, and took out 347 galleons of pure profit. The twins each got 34 galleons. He earned nearly 1,000 galleons. Finally, there was some money again. Merlin was relieved. Praise Merlin! No, it's praise for Merlin! The twins shouted excitedly while holding the galleons. This was more than 30 galleons. They had never received such a huge sum of money in their lives. In fact, the twins had already started to quickly calculate how to spend the money. Go back and write to Zunko's joke shop immediately and buy all their new models. No, I think I should buy the new products from Honeydukes first. I want to eat them until my teeth are full of cavities. Or maybe we can buy some materials and do some research first. Develop our own joke products. Ron tried to interrupt their rapid crosstalk discussion. Is it possible to buy a pair of magic detection glasses for your good brother first? But the two of them didn't even look at Ron, and didn't even stop discussing. It was not until Ron sighed in disappointment that the two of them blinked and stretched their voices in a playful tone. Oh, our dear brother, of course this won't work. You have entered Hogwarts to study and become a qualified little wizard. You also need to learn how to make money and live on your own. This is the advice from the brothers. After saying this, the two laughed together. After appreciating Ron's helpless and angry expression, each of them took out a galleon and handed it to him. One for each person. We will sponsor you. You will be responsible for all the tasks of writing letters home this month. No problem. Ron decisively accepted the gallons and collected 3 to buy a pair of glasses. The twins then took the remaining glasses out to deliver the goods. After all, they only came back to give money, and now they have to deliver things. Ron looked at the twins' backs outside the door and felt very disappointed. It's actually dark yellow. When can I get rid of their oppression? Exploitation? I don't think so. I think you two have a good relationship. Harry shook his head. Compared with Dudley, the twins left a much better impression on him. At least Dudley would never give him a penny. No, Harry, you don't understand. Ron sighed and shook his head. Then you can talk about it. The two poor children discussed the troubles in their lives together. Hermione took off her glasses and studied the yellow and green colors in her sight, praising Merlin's creativity. Extrasensory spell, color-changing spell, magic pattern triggering and magic detection. Merlin, have you really never been exposed to magic before? Certainly. Oh, God, you are really incredible. Merlin was in a trance. This was the first time he heard this word in the wizarding world. It was a bit unexpected. But Hermione soon found her problem, covered her mouth and blinked at Merlin nervously. Merlin, you know, that's not what I meant. I meant Merlin's beard. Seeing that Hermione's face turned red and she couldn't say the word, Merlin laughed. It's okay, I know what you mean. That's good. I was really worried that you would laugh at me because of this. Why? I read in a book that some wizards hate wizards like us who come from the Muggle world. Hermione whispered. That's a joke on us too. Why would you laugh at me alone? Because you have already shown your talent, but I still don't know anything. Merlin fell silent. He never expected that because of his own reasons, Hermione would become inferior. After thinking about it, he could only find an excuse to coax her. Actually, I just did a little more preparation than you. After all, I can read all the books in flourish and blots. How much more preparation did you do? Hermione asked seriously. Probably, just a little bit. Anyway, I finished the 4th grade book. Hermione's face was full of shock, her eyes narrowed, and she looked as if she was kidding me. After a while, she regained her eyesight and looked at Merlin proudly. Merlin, don't worry, I won't hold you back. I'll go to the library after school starts to catch up on the knowledge for the next 4 years. Hiss. Merlin took a deep breath and felt lucky that he had kept his words to himself. Otherwise, this little witch would have to watch O.W.L.'s exam materials. But thinking that Hermione was working so hard for her alchemy career, Merlin still sincerely encouraged her. Come on, I believe you can do it. Thank you, Merlin. Hermione smiled happily, completely forgetting the slight unhappiness just now. But she still felt a little strange after putting on her glasses again. Merlin, how come you can create such powerful alchemical products? The magic profiler shows that your magic power is about the same as ours. I see you are just dark green, not even a little yellow. The other two also nodded hurriedly. Yes, Merlin, is there something wrong with the glasses? Chapter 14. It's not a problem, but I did some magic control myself. Merlin glanced around. There happened to be no outsiders in the room. A little son born in a wizard family but not valued. A savior of the wizarding world who didn't know much about the wizarding world. A strong little wizard from the Muggle world. With a thought, he decided to start preaching to a few little wizards. The plan to transform the wizarding world starts with little wizards, and it started. Merlin smiled slightly. Can you feel your magic? Of course. Several people nodded. Even Harry, who knew the least about the magic world, had read the textbooks and knew how to mobilize the magic power in his body. Then you try to control your magic power, keep it in your body, and don't let it go out of your body. This is a way of practicing to control the internal chi that Merlin saw in a comic. When he lived in the Leaky Cauldron, he thought it was interesting, so he studied it. He found that the original way of controlling chi can be perfectly transformed into a way to control magic power. Entanglement is to control the magic power to stay on the surface of the object, which can form a certain magic resistance. Refine is to gather magic power and increase the strength of magic. Absolutely is to hide the magic power so that it cannot be detected by others. Fa is to release magic power outwards, which is the application of various spells. Merlin directly named it the 4 basic characteristics of magic. Although there is no such thing as empty in the magic world, increasing the strength of magic can still increase the power of spells. What he is teaching the young wizards now is absolute. This is also the project that Merlin insists on practicing every day after he made the magic detection glasses. From his observations in Diagon Alley and King's Cross Station, combined with the notes of many wizards' adventures in the wild, he realized one thing. Wizards have never had the habit of hiding their magic power. Especially the Aurors, the degree of magic power released from their bodies is almost equivalent to releasing a fluorescent flash on themselves. Muggles really can't notice it. But there are many magical creatures with high perception. Therefore, those who walk in the wild and complain that they are attacked by magical animals are not wronged at all. Who can you blame for being a target in the open? Absolutely, it is a means to help you hide your magic power. Let others, or other magical creatures, not know your strength, so that you have an extra trump card. Merlin explained his theory. In the box, the three young wizards were a little confused for a while after listening to Merlin's remarks. Merlin, what you said is different from what is written in the book. This theory is not mentioned in any of the first-year textbooks. Hermione was the first to react. As a top student in the history of Hogwarts, Hermione's memory is beyond doubt. Merlin nodded, affirming Hermione's preview results. Then he spoke. That's right, these are what I researched based on the theories of the Muggle world, not what is in the textbooks. At this point, the three of them were completely dumbfounded. Ron, who had received magic education, was completely stunned for a long time before he came to his senses. Merlin, I think you got it wrong. Muggles don't have magic. There's definitely something wrong with what they say. You can't use Muggle theories to study magic. Ron is a child of a wizard family, and his views also represent the views of most of the wizarding world. The magic world and the Muggle world are two different things. People without magic are not worthy of studying magic. But Merlin is now going to use his own cognition to tell them that there is no difference at all. Muggles' ideas are much more powerful than magic. After a pause, Merlin asked Ron. Do you like Nimbus 2000? Of course. Ron's eyes sparkled, not thinking about why Emolyn changed the subject. He counted on his fingers and discussed the various parameters of the Nimbus 2000 with Emolyn. The shape, speed, maintenance, care, and his carefully crafted dream. I really wish I had a Nimbus 2000. So, you don't have a Nimbus 2000, do you? Right. Then what you said should also have a problem, right? Ron was stunned, and had no idea how to refute Merlin. Harry and Hermione looked at each other and understood what Merlin meant. Although they thought there was something wrong with this, they didn't find anything wrong after thinking about it. If it can't be studied without it, then Ron is naturally not qualified to comment on and evaluate the Nimbus 2000. Merlin knew that his rhetoric had worked when he saw the confused looks on the three people's faces. He is a high-intensity entertainer in both worlds. He can use as many sophistry arguments as he wants, and he doesn't believe that he can't fool the three little wizards. Sure enough. Under this theory, the three no longer struggled with whether Muggles could study magic, but asked Merlin what the purpose of this research was. Merlin didn't answer first, but looked at Hermione. What determines the power of a spell? Belief, magic strength, spells and posture standards. Some magic may also require the caster to have matching emotions. Hermione quickly answered the answer recorded in the book. Merlin nodded. Correct, but not entirely correct. There is an interesting theory among Muggle theories. They believe that magic has tendencies. The magic that everyone is good at can actually be divided according to the classification of magic power. Earth, water, fire, and wind. Only Hermione and Harry in the box knew what Merlin meant, and they said the magic classification method commonly used in Muggle novels. Merlin shrugged and shook his head. Unfortunately, when I first came into contact with magic, I thought the same as you did, and asked Professor McGonagall if this was the case. What did Professor McGonagall say? The three of them were very curious. She said my idea was too fantastic and I should study magic after school started. Ha 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 ha. The three of them couldn't help laughing. Ron seemed to have regained some confidence. Look, Merlin, I told you that your idea won't work. Even Professor McGonagall doesn't support you. Hermione looked at Merlin nervously. She felt that Merlin hadn't finished speaking yet. Sure enough, Merlin smiled. But who says that Professor McGonagall is wrong if she doesn't support him? What if I'm really right? The three little wizards were dumbfounded. What the hell? What did they hear? It's okay for Merlin to doubt the textbook, but now he actually doubts Professor McGonagall. Even if they haven't enrolled, they have heard of Professor McGonagall's reputation from others. Now, even Hermione, who supports Merlin the most, is a little unsure. Professor McGonagall can't be wrong. Forget it, you will know after you try it yourself. Emolyn did not explain much. He found an empty cup, put leaves on it, and let them test it themselves using the method of testing the ability of mind in the comics. Of course, Emolyn still demonstrated it first. Then he told the three people the basic classification of magic power. I roughly divide magic into 6 categories based on its effects on water and leaves. Enhancement increases the power of spells. The release system can better control the magic that is launched. Transmutation is more suitable for transformation and disguise magic. The control system can improve the control of magic. The materialization system has an amplification effect on creative magic. The special system is a bit strange. There is no telekinesis that can trigger the special system in the magic currently used. In short, you will know your magic attribute after the experiment. Who goes first? Chapter 15. I'll go first. Hermione put down her wand. Following Merlin's example, she held the cup with her hand and released her magic power. Some sapphire crystals appeared in the cup. It's the materialization system. Merlin muttered. She thought that Hermione's proficiency in spells and her personality should be more inclined to the transfiguration system, but she didn't expect. Wait. Merlin suddenly thought of something, stretched out her hand to dip a little water to taste, and suddenly realized. He said why there were so few crystals of the materialization system. Sure enough, the taste of the water changed, becoming a kind of parchment with a grassy scent. Transfiguration system plus materialization system, this is right. Sure enough, she is a top student, and both systems have achieved obvious changes, which is rare in the hunter world. Merlin, how is it? The little witch noticed Merlin's performance and looked nervous. You will know after you try it. Merlin pushed the cup over. Hermione imitated Merlin and tasted the water in the cup, and instantly showed an incredible expression. This is clear water, how come it has a smell? And what are these sapphire-like things? Hermione, did you use any other magic? Harry and the others were also surprised after tasting it. I don't know, I just released the magic power like Merlin said, without thinking of any spells at all. No way, this is absolutely impossible. Merlin, can I try it? Ron was unconvinced and asked to try it. Merlin naturally agreed. Seeing that Harry was also eager to try, he simply prepared 2 test cups and asked them to test it together. Keep calm, release your magic, and don't have any thoughts. Yes, that's it. Under the guidance of Merlin, the 2 slowly released their magic power, which came into contact with the water and leaves in the cup. Almost in an instant, the cup changed. The water in front of Ron began to flow out, and Harry's water turned into a dazzling gold. One is the strengthening system, and the other is the release system. No problem. It also matches the personalities of the 2. Merlin's beard. It's incredible. Merlin, I believe your theory a little bit. Harry shouted excitedly. Ron continued to fall into silence and did not come back to his senses for a long time. He instinctively wanted to refute that this was definitely not right, but the facts in front of him made him unable to speak. If magic power was not classified, their performance just now would definitely not be normal. Moreover, what Harry said to them did not match. When a young wizard awakens his magical talent, some special phenomena will occur, but it will never make the glass of the zoo disappear for a moment. At the table, Hermione and Harry were still studying the changes in the water in their cups. They even exchanged cups to make a bottle of something that looked like honey water. Ron held his head and was entangled. Could it be that he, a child who grew up in a wizard family, had learned all the magic knowledge since childhood that was wrong? Orthodox magic turned out to be in the Muggle world? He ignored the 3 people. Merlin was ecstatic at the news that popped up in front of him. Host transformation magic world detected. Renovation extent, medium, rewards are being distributed. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the talent, danger precognition. When someone is hostile to you or enters a dangerous area, you can always detect it in advance. The closer the distance, the greater the threat and the stronger the reaction. What a talent! If you are strong enough, this is almost equivalent to turning on the immortal cheat. Even if you are not strong enough now, you can avoid trouble greatly. At least if someone is hostile to you, you will immediately sense it and have enough time to think of countermeasures. Although ordinary little wizards may be safe in school. But Merlin turned his head and looked at Harry. This person has been hunted by the Dark Lord in school for 7 consecutive years. It is normal to be affected if you have a good relationship with him. Therefore, this talent comes at the right time. When you are stronger, you can also use it to explore other places. These days, according to his understanding, the magic world is not just the surface. For example, the dragon whisker in his hand. And the materials of the magic world in other countries that he saw in the Flourish and Blots bookstore all show that this world is not simple. Who can guarantee that there will not be a few creatures with higher power levels? But at the moment, Merlin is sure of one thing. In the system evaluation, changing the thinking of young wizards is indeed more important than simply changing the placement of some stores and new technologies. It seems that I still need to educate young wizards more in school in the future, so that they can establish correct magic ideas as soon as possible. Only in this way can we expand our influence step by step, and finally raise our arms and completely change the magic world. Wait! Merlin, who was enjoying the future, suddenly stopped. Why did he feel that this idea was a little too extreme and familiar? It seemed to be the idea of the first generation of the Dark Lord before Voldemort? Damn! The system asked me to transform the magic world. What if I became the first generation of the Dark Lord? But after thinking about it carefully, Merlin was relieved again. The first generation of the Dark Lord wanted to establish a world of wizard hegemony, and I just wanted the magic world not to be too closed, to be innovative and dynamic. There is still a big difference. I believe that with my performance, when the time is right, no one should object. If there is really opposition, at that time, he can only publicly ask who is in favor and who is against. It seems that he is not much better than the Dark Lord. Emmeline was a little embarrassed, and quickly coughed twice to get rid of this bad idea, and greeted the other three people. Just now Hermione also said that, because I am a wizard from the Muggle world, I hope you can keep this method secret for the time being, and announce it after I find enough evidence. No problem. Harry nodded seriously. It felt good to have friends in the wizarding world who were willing to trust him. Ron nodded as well. Merlin, don't worry, I will never tell anyone else, not even George and Fred. Me too. Hermione followed up, making a serious oath gesture. At this moment, the door of the compartment suddenly opened. George and Fred collapsed directly into the door and lay on the seats, gasping for breath. Tired. So tired. God knows why these guys are scattered in all the compartments of the 4 carriages. It took me so long to find them all. It's more troublesome than catching goblins. I even felt like I was playing a game of Quidditch. The 2 of them complained, and took 2 glasses of golden honey water from the table and drank them in one gulp. It tastes good. Where did you get it from? Do you have any more? No, I made it myself, just 2 cups. Hermione shook her head awkwardly, avoiding the topic. Fortunately, the twins didn't pay attention to it, and soon they started talking about other topics. I really can't understand why it's so interesting that they deliberately show off these magic detection glasses. That's right. Isn't it just that some people are yellow and can't be beaten, while some people are green and easy to bully? They are just boring. But we finally managed to defeat those 2 foul-mouthed Slytherins. That was the last big dung egg, well done. Can you please take off your own glasses before you talk about others showing off? Ron shouted. The twins heard the voice and looked up and laughed at the same time, then pointed their wands at each other's glasses and chanted a spell. Streamers explosion. Lights flashing. The next second, the glasses of the 2 people sprayed out colored paper ribbons and flashed colorful lights, and made a sound that was enough to burst the eardrums. Ron, my dear brother. What did you say? We can't hear you. Ron held his forehead. With such a brother, he felt that his Hogwarts career would be dark. Merlin was very satisfied with the twins' self-created magic. He decided that if he really opened a shop one day, he would invite the twins to perform. It must be very attractive. Woo-woo. With the sound of the whistle outside the window, the train slowed down significantly. A voice was transmitted to every corner of the train. We are about to arrive at Hogwarts. Everyone, please pack your luggage and prepare to get off. Chapter 16. First year students, here. Your luggage will be automatically delivered to your room. First year students, follow me. As soon as he got off the train, Merlin saw Hagrid's huge figure. He was holding a bright lantern in his hand, guiding the freshmen to the boat station on the Black Lake. Hi, Harry, Merlin. Hagrid noticed them, greeted them, winked and said that he would arrange a small surprise for them later. Harry looked expectant. Merlin instinctively felt a chill after hearing this. He immediately knew that this was the effect of the talent for predicting danger. And he clearly judged that this meant that it was a bit frightening, but there would be no danger. Thinking of the surprise Hagrid mentioned just now, Merlin suddenly had a bad premonition. Could this half-blood giant plan to arrange some program when they cross the lake? thinking of the creatures living in the Black Lake. Giant squid, mermaids. It's impossible to let them float to the surface to say hello, right? But thinking about the fact that Hagrid was someone who could use hippogriffs to teach the care of magical creatures course, Merlin felt more and more that this was possible. If such a thing appeared under the water while on a boat, it would definitely be a shock. No wonder the danger prediction would give a warning. But now that he was prepared, Merlin felt much more relaxed. It was a good opportunity to try out his language proficiency to see if he could communicate with the giant squid and the mermaid. He should be able to give Hagrid a bigger surprise then. Soon, all the little wizards boarded the boat and headed for the main building of the castle. These boats are specially made alchemical products, and they sail fast and steadily on the water. It is also a tradition of Hogwarts to let first-year students take a boat to the main building of the castle. It allows them to experience the feelings of the 4 founding giants when they first came to Hogwarts by boat. Hagrid was holding a lantern at the front of the fleet to guide the direction, and introduced the situation of Hogwarts by the way. When the boat reached the center of the lake, Hagrid raised his voice and pointed to one side. "Here, everyone, please pay attention. We will soon pass through an area where some magical animals live. This is a surprise I prepared for you, but everyone must pay attention to safety." While speaking, he raised the lantern and found Harry in the crowd, giving him a look to watch. The next second, the boat passed through the water. The waves on the surface of the Black Lake were as colorful as the aurora. As the ship moved forward, the waves spread far away, and the waves continued to flow. "What a nice view! So beautiful! It's incredible, so beautiful!" the little wizards exclaimed collectively. Merlin was also a little stunned. He didn't expect Hagrid to actually prepare a surprise. These magical creatures are the lowest 1-star creatures in the magic department's classification level, the Aurora fish. Because of their small size and lack of combat power, they emit a brilliant light when swimming, and are famous ornamental fish in the magic world. The only drawback is that they are easily killed by shock. Change the water every 3 days, wash the tank every 5 days, and change the fish every 7 days, that's what they are talking about. It's just that ordinary people can't keep them alive in a fish tank, but Hagrid actually raised such a large group in the Black Lake, which is really not simple. But the Aurora fish can't be dangerous. What was the danger prediction just now? Merlin looked at the side of the boat, suddenly realized something, and hurriedly shouted to be careful. At this time, Hagrid also popularized the situation of this creature to the little wizards, and patted his chest proudly. "It took me a month to learn how to feed these little guys. How are they? Do they look good? Wait, Merlin, what did you say to be careful about?" Splash! Before Hagrid finished speaking, a column of water suddenly exploded under the Black Lake, spraying dozens of meters into the sky. Countless aurora fish in the center of the water column all turned upside down. The remaining aurora fish were frightened and immediately fled into the depths of the Black Lake, and the lake surface returned to darkness. The next second, several tentacles that were dozens of meters long stretched out of the water and swept away the bodies of the aurora fish. Then a large area of green water plants emerged on the lake, like countless sea snakes, gradually forming a horse head shape, emerging from the water and starting to spray water. Giant squid. Kelpie. Hermione, who had watched Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, screamed and turned pale. Obviously, she knew that Kelpie only eats humans. The remaining little wizards who didn't know were also scared and cried after hearing other people's popular science, and even forgot to take out their wands. "Get back!" Hagrid shouted furiously at the bow. He was half giant, and on the shore he could subdue most magical animals with his strength. But in the water he was just like an ordinary person, and could only roar and wave the lantern to try to scare the 2 guys. Unfortunately, it was useless. The tentacles of the giant squid were dozens of meters high, and its strength in the water was even greater than that of a small dragon. It ignored Hagrid's expulsion. The seahorse-shaped monster was scattered all over the ferry, covered with seaweed, waiting to catch the little wizard who fell into the water. Bang! Hagrid raised his umbrella and a huge red firework exploded in the air. His voice echoed across the lake. "Don't worry, I have already informed Professor Dumbledore, he will be here soon, everyone hold on to the boat and don't fall off. As long as they are on the boat, they can't do anything." He didn't forget to look at Harry and the others. After confirming that Harry was on the boat, he felt relieved and checked the situation of other little wizards. On the Merlin boat, Harry and Ron hugged each other and turned pale with nervousness. "Surprise? You call this a surprise? How could a giant squid go crazy? Aren't they the most honest animals? Ron had heard a lot about giant squids from his brother, all of which were docile, peaceful, and lazy. He didn't understand how such a violent giant squid could exist. It's an aurora fish. Although Hermione was scared, she was still calmer than them as she held onto Merlin's sleeve tightly. She could even explain to them. The favorite food of the giant squid is the aurora fish. After eating it, it will go crazy, just like a cat that has eaten catnip. As he spoke, a giant squid tentacle smashed into the lake, creating waves several meters high. The little wizard on the nearby boat instantly became a drowned chicken. What now? Harry yelled. Don't make a noise, I'm thinking. Hermione closed her eyes, trying to calm down and think of a solution. Suddenly, Hermione thought of something, opened her eyes and looked at Merlin. Merlin! I figured it out. Stunning spell. Calming spell. This is the spell to deal with the giant squid going berserk after eating the aurora fish. Just use these two spells on the giant squid to make it. Before she finished speaking, the little witch closed her eyes again. Damn, no. I forgot that the giant squid's skin is extremely resistant to magic. Our magic is totally useless. Hearing this, Harry looked at Merlin with despair. It's over, Merlin, we won't be the first batch of freshmen to die on the way to school since the founding of Hogwarts, right? Chapter 17. Of course not. Merlin nodded affirmatively. He had figured out the cause of the accident. It was probably Quirrell who knew Hagrid's plan and secretly arranged it, wanting to kill someone with a borrowed knife. Even if Harry couldn't be killed directly. The attack of the Kelpie and the giant squid during the freshman enrollment could also distract Dumbledore's attention and make him have no time to pay attention to the Philosopher's Stone. He would have more opportunities to take action. It can only be said that this method is very Voldemort. It is exactly the same as the handling method for the future Triwizard Tournament. It seems that Horcruxes are not without negative effects. At least Tom Riddle, who even Dumbledore found amazing, no longer has the IQ he once had, and can only use such a stupid method. Could it be that Horcruxes can divide the soul and also divide the IQ? An idea flashed through Merlin's mind. He still had to think, but the water in front of him suddenly boiled. A group of aurora fish rushed to Merlin's boat in panic. The huge black shadow at the bottom of the lake was obviously the movement of the giant squid rushing to the surface of the lake. 8 tentacles emerged like cannonballs, slamming heavily into Merlin's boat. Merlin! Hermione screamed and hid in Merlin's arms. Harry was holding Ronald beside him, his face filled with despair. There was a giant squid above and a water monster below. Even if Newt, who was 11 years old, came, he would have to leave something behind. They were probably really going to die. Merlin's heart tightened, and the warning of danger became particularly clear. The aurora fish had clearly dispersed, so how could they gather around his boat again? Someone must be playing tricks. In a flash, Merlin didn't have time to think about it, and he stood up and subconsciously used the most suitable spell for the current situation within his ability. Freeze! Blue and white light spurted out from the tip of Merlin's wand. The 8 tentacles of the giant squid froze into icicles in midair, extending below the water surface, and even the water plants released by the water monster in the nearby lake were firmly frozen. Under the water surface, the water monster struggled frantically, but it was useless. The young wizards on the boat were all stunned and dumbfounded, calling Merlin's beard. When they couldn't even use the most basic fluorescent flashing spell, someone had already released such a powerful freezing spell. What kind of ferocious first-year student is this? Hagrid opened his eyes wide, and his thick beard trembled a few times, blocking the sound. He whispered. Merlin's pants, this is too outrageous. The next second, a giant bird dragging flames on the castle in the distance cut through the sky and rushed towards the black lake. The air exploded with illusory shadows, gradually revealing a human shape. Dumbledore appeared above the lake, holding the phoenix claw in one hand and waving the magic wand in the other. Vanishing without a trace. After Dumbledore released the spell, the entire black lake seemed to be sucked away by a layer out of thin air. The frozen giant squid and the horse-shaped sea monster disappeared. All the magic ships floated in the air, without landing, and unable to move. A few more seconds passed. Professor McGonagall and the deans of other colleges arrived one after another, and immediately manipulated all the magic boats to fly smoothly to the other side. A thrilling surprise ended in such a hasty manner. After crossing the lake, Hagrid hugged Harry, his face full of snot and tears. He kept urging Harry to forgive himself. Harry, I'm sorry, I really didn't expect this to happen, I started to. I know, Hagrid. Thank you for the surprise. Harry went forward and hugged Hagrid. The other little wizards didn't notice what was happening here, and each prayed and sighed that Merlin blessed them to finally survive. Merlin stared at the lake again, thinking about how Quirrell managed to attract the Aurora fish twice. At this moment, Dumbledore's voice sounded behind Merlin. Merlin, a perfect freezing spell. It seems that you have made good progress in your studies at Flourish and Blots. Of course, Professor, I have been practicing. I believe in you, otherwise I would not have such strength. It is better than many graduated young wizards. Well, is that so? Merlin did not rush to reply. He did not know whether this was a test from Dumbledore. Although he used the absolute power to hide his magic power far beyond that of ordinary young wizards, it is possible that Dumbledore's magic control ability is far better than his, and he can detect his true situation. Fortunately, before he could answer, Dumbledore changed the topic. Merlin, do you think the attack on the Black Lake was an accident? Of course not. Merlin shook his head decisively. Why? Wild Aurora fish won't gather in such a large group, and the fish that have already fled have returned to their original place. This is too abnormal. In addition, giant squids usually live at the bottom of the lake and will not appear on the surface of the lake unless there are special circumstances. And the horse-shaped sea monster, if it can't eat people, I can't imagine how they have the courage to show up. There is one more thing that Merlin didn't say. The crisis he felt the first time was much smaller than the second time, and the direction was more clear. It can be confirmed that someone is behind the arrangement. But, this can't be said as evidence. Dumbledore nodded slightly, as if he thought of something. Okay, Mr. Merlin, you have shown enough excellent qualities, now it's time to go to the opening ceremony. What about you, Professor? Since you said that someone wants to harm my students, I, as the headmaster, have to do something. Dumbledore walked slowly into the lake. It seems that he stood on the water without using any magic. But Merlin obviously noticed that there was a trace of magic escaping from his feet, which looked like an advanced application skill of magic. It seems that someone has mastered the technique of external use of magic. Merlin wanted to watch more. But McGonagall had already summoned all the little wizards to go up the stairs to the main building of the castle. He could only follow. The last scene he saw was Dumbledore reciting the spell. A huge reflection appeared in the sky. The picture quickly retreated, showing what happened in the lake before. Squeak! The gate of the castle slowly closed. The bright hall, the endless long table, the candles floating in the air, the little wizards in their respective school robes boiling and noisy. Everything returned to the scene as it should have been. Quick drying, stain removal, ginger soup flying. McGonagall waved his wand and released several life-related magics to make the little wizards clean and warm again. He counted the number of people again and made sure that there was no omission before he stood at the front of the team again to introduce himself. After hearing the title of Hogwarts Vice Principal and Gryffindor Dean, many little wizards immediately behaved. McGonagall nodded with satisfaction. The frightened little wizards still need a little dignity to listen carefully to the following content. Then she slowed down and began to explain the rules of the sorting. Although some things happened on the way here, fortunately there was no accident. Principal Dumbledore has gone to deal with this matter. Next is your sorting test. Little wizards who hear the name, go forward and put on the hat, and you will know your house. Hey! Relieved. Two obvious sighs came from Merlin's side. Praise Merlin, fortunately it's not a magic test. Harry breathed a sigh of relief. Damn George Fred, I must complain to my mother. Ronald gritted his teeth. After listening to it, Merlin finally understood what happened. Chapter 18. Hogwarts tradition is to tell freshmen that the sorting is a test. Before Merlin entered the box, the twins used exaggerated acting to tell the three young wizards that the sorting test was to fight a dragon. They also said that the chosen fighting method would affect the school assignment. But the two believed it. Before Professor McGonagall spoke, the two even thought about how to survive the attack of the dragon. How to do it? Emmeline was really curious about the method these two funny guys came up with. How can they survive the attack of the fire dragon? Following you, Harry said decisively. If they can defeat the giant squid, then dragons should be able to do the same, right? Ron nodded seriously. Okay. Merlin said indifferently, then looked at Hermione. What about you? Why aren't you nervous? I memorized all the standard spells, and I thought I could pass the test. As for the dragon they mentioned, I don't believe it at all. It's hard for Hogwarts professors to deal with 5-star magical creatures alone, so how could it be an entrance test? And judging from their looks, they must be lying. Harry and the others looked over in shock when they heard the voice. Hermione, no, you were just as worried about not passing the test as we were. Otherwise it would be a bit embarrassing to see you like that. Hermione raised her head proudly, her brown hair swaying like a proud lion. Merlin clicked his tongue. It's true that girls mature early. Not only can they see through the twins' tricks, but they can also play tricks on them. Even if Harry and the others are given another 5 years, they may not be able to master this skill. Well done. Hermione heard Merlin's praise, turned around and blinked, smiling slyly. By the way, Merlin, which college do you want to go to? Hermione suddenly asked. I don't know yet. Merlin shook his head. Because this question was too difficult to decide, he subconsciously avoided it and planned to listen to the advice of the Sorting Hat. After all, this hat has witnessed too many people, and asking it may have some reference. What about you? Merlin asked Hermione. Ravenclaw or Gryffindor? The little witch thought for a moment. I have read a history of Hogwarts. Gryffindor is brave, Ravenclaw is smart, Hufflepuff is kind, and Slytherin is ambitious. I prefer being smart and brave. Harry and the other man finally got a chance to say something and joined in. I can only go to Gryffindor. My whole family is Gryffindor, and I dread to think what would have happened to me if I had gone to another house. They will probably ask me to get out of the family, right? Ron said with a bitter face. Harry hesitated. Just don't let me drop out of school and go to Slytherin. Why? The two asked curiously. I heard that all dark wizards come from Slytherin, and my parents were killed by dark wizards. Feel sorry. It doesn't matter, it's over. I just can't accept that I'm studying in the same college as the enemy who killed my parents. A few people were chatting. A ruddy little girl with 2 golden braids suddenly looked at them and spoke excitedly. Are you guys talking about Gryffindor? I kind of want to be in Gryffindor too. Unfortunately my whole family is Hufflepuff. Merlin was in a trance as he looked at the little witch in front of him. Isn't this Hannah Abbott, the Iron Hat King of one of the 28 pure-blood families? She actually wanted to change her fate and enter Gryffindor? Merlin thought that this idea was possible. If he could trick the Iron Hat King into transferring to another hospital, it should also change the magic world, right? So, Merlin began to impart his experience. Indeed, you can try to think about it when the Sorting Hat sorts the houses. As long as your thoughts are strong, it may agree to your request. Really? Hannah Abbott was about to ask again, but Professor McGonagall clapped her hands to interrupt their discussion. Okay, everyone, now that Professor Dumbledore has returned, let's begin the sorting ceremony. Then he led a group of young wizards to the Sorting Hat and stood still again. Oh, let me see, is this the freshman this year? You may think I am not pretty, but don't judge people by appearance. The Sorting Hat opened its wrinkled face from the stool, looked around and made some strange sounds that sounded like songs. The young wizards stared at the Sorting Hat curiously, wondering how it would sort them. The old students looked at the curious new students and recalled the scenes of their own sorting. McGonagall spread out this year's list and began to call the roll. Hannah Abbott. As the voice fell, the little girl who had just talked to Merlin walked out of the team. She walked forward quickly and carefully put on her hat. The Sorting Hat opened its mouth and was about to speak, but stopped and murmured. No Hufflepuff, Gryffindor. Interesting. Hannah Abbott. Your whole family is Hufflepuff, why would you want to be in Gryffindor? Rebellion? Breaking away from control? The courage to escape? Oh, that's not a good reason. I can see that you are not really brave, and you can't even face the howler letter from Mrs. Abbott. This is not the courage of a Gryffindor. So. Hufflepuff. The Sorting Hat made up its mind, and the tip of the hat tilted up, making a sound that resounded throughout the entire auditorium. In the distance, all the wizards of Hufflepuff applauded enthusiastically, welcoming the new wizard to join the academy. Merlin shook his head secretly. It seems that the nickname was not wrong. His persuasion did not change the result, and the Iron Hat King still entered Hufflepuff. I can only say that the law of causality is awesome. It is still a bit too difficult to directly transform such a character. The next few people were all carried out normally, without any waves. Merlin also met many familiar people as he wished. The Malfoy trio announced the name of Slytherin almost before the hat brims touched their foreheads. Seeing the hat and Malfoy dislike each other, Merlin didn't know for a moment whether Malfoy disliked the dirty hat or the hat disliked the Malfoy costume. Then there were the people around Merlin. Ron Weasley. McGonagall called the name and Ron came to the stage. But after putting on the hat, the Sorting Hat instantly sat up straight. Oh! Genius little wizard! I've been in Hogwarts for hundreds of years, but this is the first time I've seen such a talented little wizard. Ron was surprised at first, then ecstatic, and then he showed a proud smile. Even the Sorting Hat praised him as a rare genius in hundreds of years. He must write a letter to tell his family and tell the twins in person, asking them to be more polite to him in the future. Maybe he is the next Merlin. Ron cleared his throat and asked how the Sorting Hat saw his talent. Alchemical products. The Sorting Hat said proudly. I am also an alchemical product, and I can feel that you have an alchemical product that I have never seen before. The magic of the maker is not that powerful, it should be you who made it, right? Ron's expression became extremely complicated. The moment the Sorting Hat spoke, he knew it was talking about the magic detection glasses made by Merlin. He didn't have time to take them off when he went on stage just now. The Sorting Hat actually found them. Now he really wanted to say that he made it, but his strength didn't allow it, so he could only honestly admit that it was Merlin who did it. Merlin Hantel? He's a freshman this year, too. Yes. That's good, I must have a good chat with him. The Sorting Hat murmured in a low voice, and then decisively announced Ron's house, Gryffindor. After Ron, the Sorting Hat began to speed up as if it had taken drugs. The little wizards didn't even need to put on the hat, they just got a little closer and shouted out the name of the house. If the little wizards hadn't raised any objections, McGonagall would have suspected that there was something wrong with it. The senior students waiting on the side were particularly surprised. At this rate, this year's dinner time can be advanced by at least an hour. Merlin Handel. At this moment, Professor McGonagall read out Merlin's name. Countless pairs of eyes on and off the stage looked at Merlin at the same time, recognizing him as the freshman who had just cast the freezing spell. They were all curious about which college he would enter. Chapter 19. Merlin came on stage and calmly put on the Sorting Hat. The grey-black hat fluttered with piled folds, and the pointed top swayed back and forth to express his excitement. The worn brim of the hat tightly wrapped around Merlin's head. Merlin Hantel. I finally found you. Do you have something to talk to me about? Merlin was a little surprised. He thought the Sorting Hat would start analyzing Harry like it did, but he didn't expect it to say this. Are you surprised? Don't be nervous, I just found out your name too. The Sorting Hat scratched the top of its tip with its brim. I heard the little wizard just now say that the glasses are your alchemical product. That's right. It's incredible that someone from the Muggle world has such a strong alchemical talent. Could you be the grandson of Nicholas Flamel? Forward. The corners of Emmeline's mouth twitched. He felt that it would be better for him to give up the idea of asking the Sorting Hat to give him advice. He could even come up with such a brainwave. It was really unfair for him to stay in the principal's office. The Daily Prophet's tabloid column needs this hat. With this hat, the gossip reporter Rita Skeeter doesn't even need to transform to collect information, just ask the hat about the topic. What? Did I get it right? I never thought Nicholas Flamel would have such a great grandson. No, I have nothing to do with him. Emmeline shook his head decisively. What a shame. I thought that guy finally admitted that Hogwarts is the best magic school in Europe. The last time I saw him, we had a big fight about this. The Sorting Hat muttered. Then, realizing that this was not the place for small talk, he shook his body again. All right. Merlin Hantel, I was so surprised that I said too much nonsense. Now it's time to get down to business. You say. Emmeline curled his lips. He didn't believe that the Sorting Hat could say anything serious in such an unruly manner. You can see that I am an alchemical product, although the successive principals have also taken care of me. But it's been so long, I feel like I'm not keeping up with the times, even my students don't like the songs I sing anymore. So I want you to help me upgrade again, and it would be best if I could master more knowledge and the culture of the current magical world. Also, you can try to modify the appearance, it's too shabby. That big idiot from Gryffindor has no sense of taste and was not even willing to take good care of me before making alchemical products. Emmeline was stunned. What did he hear? Oh my god! The Sorting Hat actually wanted to upgrade itself. Is there a problem? I have lived with this look for more than 1,000 years, isn't it normal to want to change it? Indeed. Emmeline nodded subconsciously. No, why don't you go to Professor Dumbledore, he will definitely be happy to help you transform. No, 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 I can't go find him. The Sorting Hat shook its head decisively. Before, he actually wanted to turn me into that ugly pink thing with bows and gold lines on it. Even if I die, the Sorting Hat will never accept this kind of transformation. Thinking about Dumbledore's aesthetics, Merlin felt that this seemed to be possible. So what do you want to become? The outer part is made of dragon skin and unicorn tail hair, the lining is made of lava goat sheepskin, and the surface is decorated with phoenix feathers. Goodbye. Merlin didn't even listen to the end, and decisively switched channels. He had never seen some of these materials before, and the Sorting Hat had the nerve to ask him to change them. Did he really think he was rich? Besides, the only phoenix he knew was Dumbledore's. To pluck fox feathers? That would be difficult. Slow down, I haven't finished yet. The Sorting Hat was anxious, and the brim of the hat hugged Emmeline's head tightly. I can pay, you just need to help me change my look, it's not difficult. You still have money? Merlin couldn't help laughing. He didn't believe that a hat that had been lying in Hogwarts for more than 1,000 years could still have money. Who are you looking down on? The Sorting Hat bent its tip and whispered in Emmeline's ear. All the treasures of Gryffindor are with me. I have not told anyone for more than 1,000 years. As long as you promise. No. Merlin sneered. If he didn't know the plot, he would have been fooled by this disrespectful old man. The treasure left by Gryffindor was the sword. But if he dared to take the hidden treasure, all the Gryffindor students would come to challenge him. He would never agree to such a thing. So what do you have to do to get me to agree to my request? Bribery is useless, and coercion is powerless. The Sorting Hat is also helpless. This little wizard is obviously different from the previous ones. He is more clever than a monkey when he is covered with fur. How can I? Emmeline was about to speak when he suddenly realized something and his eyes lit up. He immediately changed his words. Unless you promise to answer some questions for me whenever I need you during my stay at school. This is what he just thought of. Gryffindor is one of the 4 giants of Hogwarts. How could the hat he left behind be just a portal for the sword? It must have a greater use. That is to help wizards grow through the experience and knowledge accumulated over 1,000 years. And the headmasters of all generations only used it to sort the houses, which was a waste. Although he has the ability of an encyclopedia of the wizarding world, he doesn't know many things beyond that. But this hat definitely knows a lot. The Sorting Hat hasn't figured out why Merlin changed his attitude. But it doesn't matter to it. As long as it agrees to refurbish it, it's a good wizard. Merlin Hantel, you are such an excellent. The Sorting Hat suddenly remembered that it was only discussing with Emmeline how to change its appearance, and didn't mention the sorting at all. Merlin, you know I seldom give others such privileges. In consideration of your help to me, you can choose which college to go to, how about that? Not very good. Emmeline said calmly. He agreed to the Sorting Hat's request in order to let it be his military advisor. Now the military advisor actually asked him to choose, so what was the purpose of having a military advisor? Just tell me what you said to the other little wizards. If you are right, I will listen to you. What if it's not correct? I won't give you a new one. Merlin said bitterly. The Sorting Hat trembled on Merlin's head. It was terrible. How could there be such a terrifying little wizard in the world who would even threaten a hat? The future of the magic world will be ruined by such a little wizard. But there was no emotion in his tone, and he was even more excited than Ron just now. Oh! Genius little wizard! I've been in Hogwarts for hundreds of years, and this is the first time I've seen such a talented young wizard. Did you design that pair of glasses? They are perfect. Chapter 20. Hearing this completely different tone from before, Emmeline was a little surprised. Is this the usual Sorting Hat? He still thinks it is more pleasing to the eye when it is so unruly just now. Oh, talented little wizard, which college are you considering? Such a smart mind is rare in the entire history of Hogwarts. It is a loss for Ravenclaw not to go to Ravenclaw. it finally feels like a branch. It's still Ravenclaw's loss. Okay, I like this. Merlin listened to the Sorting Hat's advice at ease. But the next second, the Sorting Hat started to be sarcastic. But, your courage in blackmailing me deserves the qualification of Gryffindor. Merlin raised his eyebrows. It seems that the Sorting Hat wants to assign him to Gryffindor. But why doesn't he have the impression of blackmailing the Sorting Hat? Isn't he threatening? No, that's not appropriate. Your behavior of using any means to achieve your goal is more like that of a Slytherin. The Sorting Hat changed its judgment again and made a thoughtful expression. Making such a great alchemical product but keeping it anonymous and low-key is very much like Hufflepuff. Let me think. She has magical talent, is so brave, acts unconventionally, and is extremely popular. There has never been a person like him who possesses the noble character of the 4 major colleges in the entire history of Hogwarts. The Sorting Hat frowned, and the whole hat was twisted into a ball. Gryffindor, Slytherin, Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, they will all like little wizards like you. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to decide. After a few minutes, the Sorting Hat still couldn't make a decision, so it simply spoke. Merlin Hantel, don't you have any college you really want to go to? Nugamund. Merlin said frivolously. Indeed, why didn't I think of this? The Sorting Hat suddenly realized and said with a proud expression. This is a great suggestion. Perfect. The last wizard like you is actually imprisoned in Nugamund. If you really want to go, I can give Dumbledore some advice. He happens to know someone there. Haha, didn't you hear I was joking? Mullen laughed dryly and rolled his eyes. But the Sorting Hat seriously persuaded Mullen to accept this condition. I can see your ambition. You want to transform the wizarding world, but Hogwarts cannot support your ambition. You are more suitable. Before he finished speaking, the Sorting Hat suddenly froze for a moment. Then he spoke in a different tone. Indeed, Nugamund is indeed a good place to study. With his personal teaching, your wish will surely come true. Merlin Handel, I admire your talent. Believe me, only by going to Nugamund can you receive the best education and lead the wizarding world to glory again. The tone of the Sorting Hat changed, which seemed to be a kind of temptation and encouragement. Merlin's heart moved. The danger forewarning reminded him again. But it was not serious. It was probably just someone's harmful thoughts. He didn't need to think about it to know that it was this voice at the moment. Old Hat, are you okay? Merlin adjusted his hat, but got no response. He looked around. No one noticed him. Merlin simply released his magic to wrap him in the Sorting Hat. He gently touched the wand. The effect of the spell stopping was activated. Absolutely. Merlin's magic successfully blocked all external detection and perception. The Sorting Hat's whispering immediately stopped, and turned a little dazed. What just happened? The Sorting Hat asked. I should be asking you this. It's Salazar. I heard his voice. The Sorting Hat screamed in Merlin's ear. That was definitely his voice just now. I've heard it for decades, there's no way I could have mistaken it. Salazar Slytherin? The founder of Slytherin? He actually sealed the things he left behind? Wait, he's not dead yet? Merlin was the first to not believe it. He knew that the only person in the wizarding world who could live forever was Nicholas Flamel. And he did it with the help of the Philosopher's Stone. Slytherin didn't have this thing at that time. But the feeling just now was definitely Slytherin, I swear. The Sorting Hat moved its tip back and forth, determined to make Merlin believe its words. So, Slytherin is still alive. No, maybe it's just soul fragments. The Sorting Hat said uncertainly. Wait, I know what he's going to do. Horcrux. Oh, Merlin's pants. Damn it. How do you know such evil black magic? Merlin shrugged and didn't answer, letting the Sorting Hat quickly tell him what he knew. It's not possible now, this matter is too long and we need to split into different schools. Let's put it simply. Okay. The Sorting Hat had no choice but to tell the situation it knew in the simplest words. It turned out that the 4 founders of Hogwarts did not leave immediately after establishing the school, but left many legacies for the young wizards who came later according to their own wishes. Those who can find the legacies and pass the tests can get the recognition of some of the 4 giants and get rewards. And those who get all the relics of the 4 giants can become the real owner of Hogwarts. Slytherin just now probably wanted to develop Merlin into his successor and inherit the concept of pure-blood Hogwarts. Oh my god! Emolin clicked his tongue, very surprised that there was such news. Didn't anyone know this news for so many years? Didn't you tell anyone? I said I just found out about it when Slytherin showed up. Do you believe me? What do you think? Merlin said calmly. Thoughts were flying in his mind. Relics, collection, control of Hogwarts, Slytherin information. Putting these things together, he felt vaguely that he had grasped something, but he just couldn't think of what it was. No. I figured it out. Merlin was shocked and figured everything out. No wonder Voldemort wanted to collect the relics of the four giants and said that he was the heir of Slytherin. He thought this was just him flattering himself. Now it seems that it is very likely that the young Voldemort was bewitched by Slytherin and chose to embark on this path, so he called himself this. From this point of view, this Slytherin is also a bad guy. If the Sorting Hat did not contain Gryffindor's thoughts, no one would be able to discover Slytherin's soul hidden inside. Moreover, there are fragments of Slytherin's soul on the Sorting Hat, and it is estimated that other relics also have fragments of his soul. This can explain how Voldemort learned to make Horcruxes and open the Chamber of Secrets. He didn't believe that a normal little wizard could learn such advanced black magic from just a few words. But it would be different with Slytherin himself guiding him. For the inferior and ambitious Voldemort, Slytherin might not be the grandfather in the ring. But he has a system, so he doesn't need to care about this silver coin grandfather. Hey! Suddenly, Emolin's mind moved, and a bold idea suddenly popped up in his mind. If I could become the owner of Hogwarts, I would have transformed the wizarding world, right? Wouldn't the reward be soaring? How about getting in touch with Slytherin? Merlin thought. All the teachers and students of Hogwarts in the hall shuddered for no reason, feeling that something was going to happen. Chapter 21. After Merlin had a new goal, he no longer worried about the college. Anyway, the courses at Hogwarts had nothing to do with the college, and he could take classes anywhere. His current goal had become to reactivate the soul fragments of Slytherin and start collecting the relics of the Big Four, and to obtain Hogwarts permanently. It has been detected that the host has established a grand transformation goal, to take control of Hogwarts. In order to enhance the host's sense of achievement, the system decided to reward in batches according to the progress of the task, and give the final reward after completing the final task. Please work hard to collect the relics of the four giants, explore all the secrets of Hogwarts, and transform Hogwarts. Quest reward talent, relic marking. When the relics of the four giants appear within a 5-meter range around the host, the perception will be triggered. How stingy! Emolin pouted. What can a 5-meter range do? Wouldn't it be exhausting to find them? The host can upgrade the perception range by obtaining the relics of the four giants. The system prompt pops up again. It's okay. Emolin didn't complain anymore. He already knew about several relics of the four giants. When he found them, he should be able to improve them to a sufficient level. At most, he would go to more schools. He could always find new relics. Hey, Merlin, have you chosen your house? Hurry up. I'm going to announce it. The Sorting Hat urged above my head. Then let's go with Hufflepuff. Merlin said casually. Gryffindor has Hermione, the twins, and the duo, which is half of his own house. The other two houses are similar, so it's better to choose Hufflepuff, which is closer to the cafeteria. At least it's more convenient to cook and replenish magic power. Plus, Professor Sprout is also a good guy, who won't mind his presumptuous ideas. It's suitable. Are you sure? That's the most common Hufflepuff. Your talents and abilities deserve better. Okay, I'll shut up if you insist. The Sorting Hat kept chattering until its persuasion failed. Helplessly, it stretched out its voice and burst into a loud voice and shouted Hufflepuff. Professor McGonagall, who presided over the sorting ceremony, had the parchment in her hand trembling slightly. She lowered her head and sighed silently, feeling a little disappointed. Gryffindor had lost a good seedling. The wizards at the Hufflepuff table were very happy and directly picked up Merlin to celebrate. It was even more enthusiastic than when Gryffindor welcomed Harry. After Merlin sat down, the old students around him all gave him a look that you know, and hurriedly spoke. Merlin, I heard from Fred that you made all of this. They are out of stock. How about it, do you have any more? Is there an in-house price? How about 2 galleons? I'm really curious, how did you research such a good thing? Even Ravenclaw students can't do it. A noisy crowd surrounded Merlin, all of them were little wizards who wanted to buy magic detection glasses. This scene surprised even Professor Sprout. When did the little badgers become so enthusiastic? Moreover, how could a freshman have such great charm? Did she hear the name of the Sorting Hat wrong? This is not Merlin Handel, but Harry Potter? But soon, she didn't care about this little change. The little badgers are in the best state of unity, kindness, and love. After a long time, Merlin promised that if any glasses came out, he would give priority to Hufflepuff, and finally calmed down the group of enthusiastic little badgers. At this time, a tall and handsome boy next to Merlin stretched out his hand. "Hello, I'm Cedric Diggory, a third-year student." "Merlin Handel, I know you." Merlin smiled and stretched out his hand. "My reputation has spread to the Muggle world." Cedric was shocked. He knew very well that he was not a savior like Harry Potter, and he was not very famous in Hogwarts. How could Merlin Handel, a little wizard from the Muggle world, know him? "No, it was the Fred brothers who told me, you know, they were helping me sell glasses, and mentioned something about the school." "No wonder." Cedric suddenly realized something, and then he looked at Merlin again. "What did they tell you about me?" "Probably the light of Hogwarts, the top student in the school, an impeccable good person, a moral role model, a qualified Hufflepuff. Actually, it's not as good as they say. I still have a lot of shortcomings." Cedric blushed and felt a little embarrassed. "I think you are much better than me." "Hey!" Merlin blinked, not understanding what Cedric meant. "Few little wizards can have their own alchemical works in school, let alone works before entering school like you. I've seen your magic detection glasses. The idea and concept are so perfect that I bought a pair too." Cedric took out a pair of magic detection glasses from his pocket. "Thank you for liking my work." Merlin thanked him sincerely. "If someone can support me with money, then he is a good person. Buy a pair of glasses, and round it off, it is 2 galleons for me." Merlin, could you please sign my glasses?" Cedric asked stiffly. "Ah!" Merlin was stunned, a little surprised. "Can signing an alchemical item increase magic power?" No, I guess you will become a famous alchemist in the future. The signed version of your first alchemy work is very memorable. I plan to keep a set for my collection." "I see." Merlin agreed decisively and took out a feather pen for Cedric to sign. By the way, he was thinking about whether he should ask Cedric to be the brand promotion plan for his alchemy work. The concept of the signed version he proposed was exactly in line with Dai Ying's idea of liking flashy things. "Isn't this Professor Dumbledore's wallet? Where did you get it from?" Before he could speak, Cedric pointed at Merlin's wallet with a shocked look on his face. "How did you know that?" Cedric pointed to the embroidered letters on the corner of the wallet. "Last time I helped Professor Dumbledore run errands and bought something, I saw it when he took it out. This place is the initials of his name." "All right." Merlin repeated the process of how he got the wallet. Merlin's beard. You are really a natural-born wizard," Cedric said with jealousy and envy. "What else is there to say? All the little wizards have completed the sorting." Dumbledore knocked on the cup, attracted everyone's attention, and stood up to speak. "Welcome everyone to Hogwarts to start a new school year, but before we start dinner, I have a few words to say. Although this year's freshmen encountered some accidents on the way, fortunately no one was injured. Thanks to our gamekeeper Hagrid for the surprise for the new students and Mr. Merlin Handel for his bravery. I have never seen such a perfect freezing spell in the hands of a young wizard of this age. Well done, Mr. Merlin." Boom! As soon as Dumbledore finished speaking, the young wizards of the 4 colleges were all boiling. The old students had already asked the new students about what happened just now. Hearing that Merlin subdued the giant squid and the sea monster with a spell, they looked at Merlin with strange eyes. Merlin's beard. What a rebirth! He can handle giant squids and kelpies before he even starts school. Compared to him, I feel like a muggle. Merlin, I might as well drop out of school. Don't be afraid, we are all muggles. Merlin couldn't hold back after hearing the voice. The last time I heard such a sentiment, it was self-deprecation, but now it's muggles. So muggles are from the magic world? Chapter 22. He showed extraordinary magical talent before he even entered school, and remained calm in the face of danger. Dumbledore spoke again. In view of Mr. Merlin's performance, I decided to give Hufflepuff an extra 50 points. Wow! The Hufflepuff students burst into screams. Even those who didn't care much about the house score were proud of it. This was the first time they received extra points before the start of the school year, an honor that other houses had never had. The other 3 houses were more shocked than excited. Originally, Hufflepuff had never had a sense of presence in the House Cup. But this time they were ahead by a large margin at the start of the school year. 50 points is not easy to surpass. Especially the little wizards in Slytherin and Gryffindor were the most screaming. Dumbledore raised his hand and motioned for everyone to be quiet. He glanced at the crowd, as if he had discovered something. Also, I noticed that some of my classmates were wearing some kind of glasses made by alchemy. Can anyone tell me what new product this is from Zonko's joke shop? If it will cause unnecessary trouble in the castle, I hope everyone can send it home or give it to our Mr. Filch. The crowd suddenly quieted down, and all the little wizards who bought glasses were looking for the location of Merlin and the twins. Dumbledore blinked and looked at the 3 people. Merlin, Mr. George, Mr. Fred, I think you can give me an answer, right? George and Fred looked at each other, then looked at Merlin hesitantly, not knowing how to explain. Merlin stood up calmly. Professor, this is a pair of magic detection glasses I made. It is an alchemical product, but it will not affect the safety of the school. It is a tool to assist learning. I think it will soon become a must-have tool for young wizards, just like the Crucible. After that, he took out his glasses and explained to Dumbledore the principle and effect of the glasses. Can I see it, Mr. Merlin? Dumbledore was a little surprised. Of course, Professor. Merlin waved his wand lightly, and the magic power condensed into a thread, which floated towards the guest of honor seat with his glasses rolled up. It's a really good thing. Dumbledore put on his magic detection glasses and looked around, nodding with satisfaction. Using magic feedback to feel the magic power of other magic objects is a very good idea. Then he gave it to other professors for confirmation and looked at the crowd again. After the professor's inspection, there is no problem with this pair of magic detection glasses and they can be used in the school, but we hope that everyone can use them correctly and not cause any extra fights. After saying that, he looked at Emmeline again. Mullen, I also want to buy a pair of glasses, is that okay? 5 galleons, Professor. Merlin quoted the original price without hesitation. Dumbledore was stunned. Mullen, but you only sold it to your classmates for 3 galleons. Because they are students and have no salary, but you, the professor, have money, just like a magic wand, so students will be cheaper, right? You are right, Mr. Merlin. I will send the fee to you by owl later. Being able to complete your alchemical work before the start of the school year is worthy of encouragement. Hufflepuff will get another 20 points. Dumbledore nodded slightly and ended the conversation with Merlin with a bonus point. Then he emphasized that first-year students were not allowed to enter the Forbidden Forest, and no one was allowed to enter the corridor on the right side of the 4th floor. After that, the opening banquet began. In an instant, the empty table was full of food. Merlin saw the dumplings placed among the roast chicken, steak, pork chops, mashed potatoes, and other dishes. Turning his head to look at Dumbledore, he found that he had been waiting for him with a smile on his face. Thank you, Headmaster. Merlin mouthed and started to eat. On the stage, Dumbledore was also introducing this new dish to other professors. Pomona, try this dumpling, which was also taught to me by Mr. Mullen. It is a very good oriental delicacy. Merlin's beard. Sprout was surprised and shook his head. Professor, where did you find such a powerful little wizard? Tell me the truth, is he your illegitimate child? The other professors in the guest of honor seat couldn't hold back when they heard this, and almost spit out the wine they had just drunk. They all looked at Dumbledore, waiting to see what was happening. Dumbledore was stunned for several seconds before he came back to his senses. Pomona, you think too much. Mr. Merlin is a young wizard from the Muggle world guided by Minerva. He is just particularly talented. That's incredible, I must pay more attention to him in the future, Albus. Of course, thank you, Pomona. The dinner ended happily after everyone had eaten their fill. The students of the 4 colleges returned to their lounges under the leadership of the prefects. Merlin became the most eye-catching one in the Hufflepuff team. Even the new and old students from other colleges who passed by would greet him and make an appointment for a new pair of magic detection glasses. For them, Dumbledore's trial just now was the best advertisement. The alchemical product that even Dumbledore praised was at a special price of only 3 galleons, and most of them couldn't help but want to buy a pair. When Merlin walked out of the auditorium, he received orders for more than 300 pairs of glasses and more than 600 galleons in cash. Merlin's beard. This is 600 galleons. In order to protect Merlin's safety and help him find the way, Cedric has been following Merlin. Fortunately, with his help in recording, Merlin can remember the information of all the people who ordered. Now seeing him so excited, Merlin simply extended an olive branch. How about you become a colleague of Fred and George? I'll give you 10% of the profits. Aren't they 20%? But they are two people. Sorry. Cedric slapped his forehead. Their mischievous methods and appearance always make me think they are the same person. How much is that 20%? One sells for 3 galleons, the cost is 2 galleons, and 1 galleon is pure profit. M.O. Lin said. Then there will be 304 galleons profit tonight, and I can get 30 galleons, 6 sickles and 21 nuts. Cedric quickly calculated the answer. Merlin's mouth twitched. He had reason to suspect that the talents of the young wizards in the wizarding world were all wrong. Such a complicated conversion ratio could be blurted out, no wonder there is such an outrageous course as mathematical divination. Are you planning to use magic to realize human big data? Just thinking about the feeling of having a supercomputer running in your mind all the time, Merlin felt a little excited for some reason. Merlin, does the 10% include only this, or will it also include future alchemical products? There will be more in the future, and if you can join the alchemy production, the share will be increased. Then I'll do it. Cedric suddenly spoke, his eyes were extremely excited. Seeing Merlin looking at him, Cedric hurriedly found a reason to explain. Well, I'm not doing it for the money, I'm doing it for Quidditch. Quidditch? Yes. Cedric nodded heavily. I saw the Nimbus 2000 in Diagon Alley, it was so beautiful. Do you know what that means to Quidditch fans? It's my life. If I can earn 30 galleons every month, plus what I've saved before, and live frugally for 5 years, I should be able to buy it. Merlin was silent, confused, shocked, but respectful. But after thinking for a moment, he reached out and patted Cedric on the shoulder. Come on. I hope you can do what you say. What's the meaning? 4 years later, maybe there will be new models of Nimbus, such as Nimbus 2002 and Nimbus 2003. Will you still buy your life then? Snap. Emolyn seemed to hear the sound of a broken heart. After leaving behind a strong look, Emolyn entered the lounge first, ready to meet his roommate. Chapter 23. It is said that the way the Badgers enter the lounge has not changed since the school was founded. As long as you knock on the vinegar barrel next to the cafeteria in order, the passage leading to the lounge door will be revealed. Merlin thinks this is simply the best design in the world. Who has the time to remember so many passwords every day? This fixed one is fine. But when Merlin entered the door, he still saw many old students wearing raincoats. He wanted to ask why they wore raincoats if it wasn't raining in the castle. Then he watched a badger who was remembering the door password knock on the wrong barrel with shaking hands. Spouts appeared in more than a dozen barrels around. The next second, countless vinegar sprayed out and flooded the front. The unfortunate little wizard wiped his face and body in shock, his facial features tangled together, and it looked like his teeth were sour. After a long time, he slowly uttered a sentence. This vinegar tastes like a rat's tail. Before he could think about how he knew the taste of a rat's tail, the next little wizard was sprayed again. The badgers around were gloating and continued to watch the show. Watching new badgers being sprayed every year is one of the few activities and fun for the old students in Badger Court. After watching for a few times, Merlin easily mastered the skills. He calmly opened the passage and entered the lounge. Cedric behind him was surprised. Obviously no one told Merlin the skills to open the door, but he learned it after watching it once. Isn't this a bit too outrageous? Ignoring Cedric's shock, Merlin calmly went back to the dormitory to rest. When he entered the door, he saw his 2 roommates. Because of the number of freshmen this year, there happened to be only 3 people in Merlin's dormitory. Emolyn. The 2 roommates jumped up in excitement when they saw Emolyn. We were just discussing who our roommate would be, and we didn't expect it to be you. That's awesome. Justin Finch Fletchley. The first boy who jumped up introduced himself. He had thick black hair and a face that revealed an uncommon nobleness and elegance. Merlin, I am also a wizard from the Muggle world. I was originally going to Eden College, but after receiving the admission letter from Hogwarts, I came here. My family thought I was being tricked at first, until Professor Sprout personally came over and they believed it. Merlin felt that the name sounded familiar. After thinking about it, he finally matched him with the guy who was afraid of snakes in the original book. Merlin smiled and nodded to greet him. Then he looked at another freshman. Merlin, I'm Ernie Macmillan, your glasses are so cool. I can't wait to show them to my family, so they can know that little wizards in the Muggle world are also very powerful. The blonde, handsome little wizard looked up, with a pair of glasses made by Merlin on his nose. Thank you for your support. Both of them are known to Merlin. One is a noble in the Muggle world, and the other is the descendant of the 28 pure-blood families in the magic world. They are both not short of money. It seems that if there are any alchemical inventions in the future, I can take care of my roommate first. Moreover, just like the spirit of Hufflepuff, he remembers that these two little wizards are righteous. It seems that dormitory life in the future will not be very annoying. Very good. Merlin is very satisfied with this arrangement. The three of them are of similar age and soon chatted together. At the same time, in the principal's office on the 8th floor of Hogwarts, another conversation was also going on at the same time. Dumbledore stood by the table with the deans of the 4 major colleges. He waved his wand, and a crystal ball that recorded images appeared in his hand. The picture above the Black Lake appeared on it, which was the information recorded by Dumbledore when he went back to time just now. Everyone can take a look at this. The screen changed, showing the scene where Emolyn and his companions were attacked. It's terrible, Dumbledore. Professor Sprout covered his mouth with disbelief. Giant squids live at the bottom of lakes. According to their habits, even if they are attracted by aurora fish, they will not appear on the lake surface to hunt when there are so many people. Besides, a horse-shaped monster of this size would not appear out of nowhere in the Black Lake. As a professor of herbology, she also knows the living habits of various magical animals. Dumbledore looked at the others. What do you think? There were magical fluctuations at the scene, but there were no wizards or elves present, and there was no sign of apparition. It should have been achieved with very advanced magic or ancient magic patterns. Professor Flitwick, the head of Ravenclaw, said softly. Snape, who was dressed in a black robe, frowned. Albus, even you couldn't find his magic fluctuations. Although I really want to find it, Flitwick is right. He used very advanced magic or magic patterns, and didn't leave many traces. I need to carefully identify it. It is obvious that the person who did this is inside the school. Albus, my suggestion is that I go check it out. I must find this damn guy myself. Snape said harshly. No one noticed that his eyes were fixed on the little wizard who was in the same ship with Merlin in the video. They just thought it was the anger from the headmaster of Slytherin. Severus, don't be so anxious. Everything has its own traces. The most important thing for us now is to ensure the safety of our students. The danger is still there. Dumbledore emphasized the last 4 words. Snape's expression tensed, and then slowly relaxed. You are right, Professor. McGreg's face was livid and his eyes were unfriendly. Albus, are you saying the person who did this is still in the school? It is still uncertain, but since the other party was able to bring in a water horse quietly, he must not want chaos, but something more. Dumbledore turned his head and looked outside the house, and seemed to have penetrated through many obstacles and landed in the corridor on the right-hand side of the 4th floor. Perhaps this is the most severe crisis Hogwarts has ever encountered since its founding. Dumbledore muttered to himself. After a while, he looked away. Anyway, I feel like there will be some changes at Hogwarts this year, so you should be more careful. Severus, I hope you can recheck the potion warehouse to see if there are any missing or missed herbs, and help Madame Pomfrey prepare some recovery potions in advance. Flitwick, if you have time, please refortify the school and check for any possible loopholes. Ask Mr. Filch to check for the secret passages that too many people know about. Sprout, I think we need some new alert measures and messengers. You can contact Hagrid and ask him to help find some Neasels. Minerva, as for our little wizards, I'd like to ask you to discipline them and make sure they don't do anything wrong. Understood, Professor. The 4 deans agreed and left Dumbledore's office to go about their business. In a secret corner of Hogwarts, an angry voice cursed in a low voice. Idiot! This is what you call a foolproof method? What happened? No one died, not even one person was injured. If you can't even do this kind of thing, what use do I have for you? Master, this is really a coincidence. I didn't expect such an accident to happen. The wizard in a black cloak knelt on the ground and trembled, but he still tried to respond. Who could have imagined that a little wizard who had not yet entered school would use such a terrible freezing spell? Even if Merlin were reborn, it would be impossible. And he is also an alchemist. You also heard what Dumbledore said at the dinner. He has such a strong alchemy talent now. I suspect he is the one sent by Dumbledore to hinder our plan. Humph. Stupid. The voice of reproach suddenly rose. Use your toes to think carefully. How could Dumbledore choose a freshman to implement his plan? This is not an excuse. You have failed to complete my task twice. If you do it again, you will die. Also, send me the information on that damn Merlin Hantel. As you command, my master. The black-robed wizard lay on the ground, his voice gradually becoming lower. Chapter 24. The next morning, Merlin got up early to have breakfast. But he didn't go to the cafeteria, but went directly to the kitchen to get the freshly cooked food. This is also a privilege of Hufflepuff. The house elves like these friendly Hufflepuffs very much. After knowing that Merlin wanted to have breakfast, they quickly brought bread, orange juice, bacon, eggs, etc. This is indeed the regular breakfast at Hogwarts. But Merlin still misses the food at home. Even in the hunter world, there are many types of domestic breakfasts to choose from, and now even tableware, That's not right. Why does the magical world still consider tableware? Just make a request to the house elves, and they will definitely be able to make it. Thinking of this, Merlin decisively stopped the house elves passing by. Dear Mr. Merlin, what can I do for you? Hello, can you help me make some dumplings? Like the ones at the dinner party yesterday, with pork, cabbage, leek, meat, shrimp, and eggs fillings. Of course. It is my honor to serve Mr. Merlin. Please wait a moment. The house elf who was called by Merlin seemed particularly excited. He snapped his fingers and disappeared in front of Merlin. In a few minutes, he came back with a plate of dumplings. The 3 kinds of fillings were specially placed separately. Dear Mr. Merlin, I don't know how many you want, so I prepared 8 for each. If it's not enough, Tamer can prepare it immediately. Just call me Merlin. Is Tamer your name? The dumplings were still a little hot. Merlin was not in a hurry to eat them, but looked at the house elf in front of him curiously. Although he was also wearing a pillowcase, it was obviously washed very clean and looked very polite. Yes, Mr. Merlin, Tamer is the head chef of Hogwarts and the person in charge of the house elves. Mr. Dumbledore also taught me how to make dumplings for yesterday's dinner. No wonder. Merlin suddenly realized. So if I give you some other recipes, can you make them? Of course I can. Tamer's cooking skills are the best in the entire Hogwarts kitchen. There is nothing I can't cook. Tamer looked up, full of confidence. Okay, I'll eat and go to class first. We can talk about the recipe next time when we have time. As you wish, sir. Just call my name when you get to the kitchen and I'll appear. Tamer snapped his fingers and disappeared again. Merlin started eating dumplings. His dumplings had garlic and chili oil in them, but no vinegar. Tower. Merlin was about to call out to Tamer, but then he thought of his college specialty and got up and went out to knock on the wooden barrel. After a while, he received a barrel of Ningguafa vinegar. This is Merlin's favorite vinegar to dip dumplings in. I didn't expect that a vinegar barrel could make it. Magic is really a good thing. Then he packed up the breakfast that was delivered just now and took it back to his roommate. He is not a person who wastes food. Godfather. Justin and Ernie were sitting at the table, full of excitement. But they still kept the demeanor of nobles, slowly eating what they could have finished in 2 bites with their knives and forks. They also did not forget to express their gratitude. Merlin, you got up so early. You even went to the lobby to bring us breakfast. I was so touched. You are such a nice person. No, I got it from the kitchen. Although Merlin wanted to say that he got it from the hall, considering that other Hufflepuffs would also go to the kitchen, it would be better to tell them about it earlier. Justin paused slightly while applying the butter, and then said righteously. So what? As long as you can bring back breakfast, you are the godfather. Indeed, from now on, Merlin, you will be my best godfather. Merlin suddenly felt a toothache. It was said that Hufflepuffs were all kind little badgers. Why did his roommate seem so shameless? This is not a badger, but a roe deer? Looking at the time and schedule, Mullen kindly reminded. If you don't hurry up, you'll miss the first class of the day. Just a reminder, this is a potions class with Slytherin. Oh no. It's Snape. The two of them had the most distorted expression on their faces. When they were chatting in the lounge yesterday, they heard senior students introducing the school. Among them, the description of Professor Snape was almost beyond scary and reached the level of horror. The most ferocious professor in Hogwarts. The potions classroom seemed like a medieval dungeon. Any little wizard who failed the exam would become the material for Snape's potion. His favoritism towards Slytherin was written on his face. So the two of them didn't even have time to eat the remaining bread gracefully, they just grabbed a piece of bread and stuffed it into their mouths and rushed out with the book. A few minutes later, the three of them stopped on a staircase that began to change direction. Slow down. Have you all remembered that the stairs in the school corridor have changed? No. No. Justin and Ernie were confused and had no recollection of this incident. So how do we go now? Ask someone. People. Where is it? The two looked around and didn't see any senior wizards passing by. Instead, all the young wizards like them were standing still on the side of the road. Emmeline waited calmly until the stairs were close to the side, walked to a portrait with a bright yellow background on the wall, and politely knocked on the frame. Good morning, ma'am. Could you please give me a minute to ask for directions? Of course. The witch who was processing the dragon's blood grass put down her wand and smiled. Dear, you must be a freshman this year, right? That's right. Then you must be a smart little wizard. Just now, a little wizard with glasses and a little wizard with freckles turned the stairs here more than 10 times and still couldn't find the right route. What sad news? Merlin held back his laughter. He didn't expect to hear news about Harry and his buddies on the way to school. If I remember correctly, they should have been severely reprimanded by Professor McGonagall. Well, dear, where are you going? I can tell you the route. Well, ma'am, if it's convenient, could you tell me the situation and precautions for each change of stairs? That's too much, what are you going to do? If the stairs change regularly, I think we can write a sign and put it on the railing so that new little wizards won't get lost. Of course, some old students with poor memory can also use it. Emmeline replied with a smile. Oh, what a kind little wizard, worthy of being our Hufflepuff's new student. The dragon blood grass witch smiled and told Merlin all the changes in the moving staircase. Thank you, ma'am. No, call her madam. The dragon blood grass witch winked. Of course, ma'am. Merlin smiled and said, then he took out a piece of parchment and wrote down the rules of the stairs and pasted it on the first pillar of the stairs. In front of him, a prompt quietly popped up. Host transformation magic world detected. Renovation scope, small, rewards are being distributed. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the talent, Potion Mastery. You can accurately prepare the potions whose formulas you have seen, and the success rate of deriving new potions and improving potion formulas has increased. Chapter 25. It works. A smile appeared on Merlin's face. He had been thinking that it was unreasonable that there were so many moving stairs in Hogwarts without any signs. If signposts were posted, it would be a change. As expected, a reward was given. It was the most needed one now, which was Potion Mastery. Although he had memorized all the first-year potion textbooks, if Snape did something, it would be safer to have this talent. Merlin. Are you okay? The roommates saw Emmeline standing there in a daze and called out to him in a low voice. It's okay, I just suddenly thought that we might not have enough time. Let's go to class first and post it somewhere else when we come back. Emmeline said, and took his roommate to class. It was a good opportunity to test whether changing the same thing twice could still add up the rewards. When they arrived at the potions classroom, there were only a dozen young wizards sitting in the room, all of them Hufflepuffs. What about the Slytherins? I didn't see it. Emmeline was a little surprised. He thought that these little snakes would come early to show their support to the dean. After sitting for a while, several new little wizards rushed in, with colorful clothes, which showed the traces of embarrassment left by hastily escaping. They were also Hufflepuff students. What's wrong with you? Merlin grabbed the familiar Hufflepuff wizard and asked him what was going on. The two roads he left behind led to the potions classroom. It was impossible to go the wrong way, let alone end up like this. It's Peeves. Ever since Merlin showed off his power on the lake, the Badgers have thought he is the uncrowned king of the first grade. Seeing him, they felt like they saw a savior and hurriedly told him what happened. Merlin left a pattern of stair changes, and they followed this pattern. But they didn't expect Peeves to ambush them halfway and attack them with colored bombs. Merlin, he also destroyed the label you left behind. They also said that the little wizards at Hogwarts who couldn't even remember the way were not going to class. They might as well take their brains out and use them as a quaffle. Merlin, you must teach Peeves a lesson. The Badger was still struggling to wipe the colored paint off his body. Peeves? I see. I'll go talk to him after class. Merlin nodded. Unconsciously, Merlin, who had only been in school for one day, had become the leader of the first-year Badgers. The Badgers still had something to say. There were sounds of robes swaying and leather boots stomping outside the classroom. Snape walked into the classroom with a middle-parted slicked-back hair that had not been washed for thousands of years. Behind him were dozens of Slytherin wizards. All of them stepped into the potion classroom neatly and looked confidently at the Hufflepuff students. Merlin, what are they proud of? Justin asked in a low voice. Who knows? Merlin shrugged, not knowing what medicine Snape sold in his cauldron, and waited and watched. Snape waved his wand as he walked. All the curtains in the classroom closed automatically, making the classroom darker. He stood on the podium, looked around, and said that classic dialogue. You are here to learn the precise science and art of potion making. So, put away your wands. There is no need for those silly operations here. You should focus on the crucible and the materials themselves, and feel the charm of this subject in the smoke and potions. It must be said that Snape's words are very attractive. Merlin felt that potions was the best subject in the wizarding world. Unfortunately, after reading all the potions textbooks in Flourish and Blots, he already knew the process of potion making. The most difficult part is the formula and improved formula. As long as the formula and improved formula are mastered, the rest is the timing of operation. In his hands, this is much easier than drinking water. Merlin. What are you laughing at? Snape's eyes fell and caught a glimpse of the smile on Merlin's lips. He frowned and said seriously. Although you can make that crude alchemical product before school starts, potions and alchemy are two different things. Do you think I'm funny? Or do you think potions is funny? The Badgers around were so scared that they dared not breathe. Justin and Ernie pulled Merlin's robe to signal him not to contradict Snape. This was obviously intentional trouble. Merlin blinked and sighed. He probably knew why Snape was angry. He didn't see Harry in the first class of the school. Oh, no, it was Lily's eyes. She happened to see him who was in the limelight, so she shifted her hatred. Unfortunately, he was not Harry and was not afraid of Snape at all. He stood up and spoke calmly. No, Professor, I just suddenly thought of the beauty of potions, so I couldn't help but feel happy. As soon as this sentence came out, all the little wizards in the room widened their eyes and looked at Merlin in shock. No. As an honest and upright Hufflepuff, even if you make up a reason, it can't be so outrageous, right? Hufflepuffs never flatter professors, not even for credits. Only delicious food can impress the little badger. You actually betrayed Hufflepuff. The Slytherin students couldn't help but burst into laughter. The Malfoy trio who led the group was particularly exaggerated. They fell on the table and laughed, and even clapped their hands and shouted. Ooh! The wonders of potions! What an unexpected answer! Hufflepuffs actually like potions class. Merlin stood up calmly, looked around, and looked at Malfoy. Malfoy, why can't Hufflepuffs like potions class? You guys haven't always disliked, cough cough. Malfoy suddenly fell silent, not daring to say the rest of the words. Merlin snorted coldly and looked at Snape. Professor, I have answered your question, but I also have a question. What were the Slytherin students laughing at just now? Snape looked unhappy and turned his head to glare at the Slytherin students. Malfoy and his companions instantly felt the pressure and remained silent. The Badgers were completely dumbfounded. Did they see or hear it wrong? Merlin dared to question Professor Snape? Snape was about to speak. Merlin's voice rang out again. Professor, I heard that the professors at Hogwarts are all fair and just. They would definitely not do such a double-standard thing as protecting students from their own college, right? Of course. Snape's nose twitched, and after a while, he said lightly. Turning around, his robe swung out with a sound. Malfoy, what were you laughing at? Well. Malfoy was stunned. He couldn't believe that Snape would actually ask him such a question just because of Merlin's words. But he didn't dare to say that other houses didn't like Snape. He held it in for a while, his brain was working like crazy. Finally, he came up with a reason before Snape got angry. Professor, I was just so happy at the thought of learning potions that I laughed out loud. Really? Okay, I hope your performance later will be as beautiful as you say. Snape nodded. Laughing for no reason in class and disrupting discipline will result in 5 points being deducted from Slytherin.